We're live. Eatrawmeat, thank you so much for being willing to do this with me. How are you feeling now?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
All right. So before this interview, we already agreed that we are going to be eating some raw meat and eggs together right here. So let's see what you've got.
So, I've got some swordfish.
Ooh.
I've got these oysters, and I've got some leftover milk and some honey. And then I have some week old milk in here. And then I've got some eggs right here. So, I've been on a weight loss diet for about probably 5 weeks now, and I've lost 12 pounds. So I've been keeping it light mostly through the days, and Saturday is really the day when I kind of eat a lot. So that's kind of like my big meal for today. So, how about you? What do you got?
Well, good question. So some beef and some eggs. So I want to like kind of clarify
Classic.
for the listeners. So right now it's like my morning and it's night. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, like I'm actually still pretty full from my yesterday's meal. So I only prepared some. Just wanted to like eat some stuff with him. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, like, you just show a lot of stuff. Are you going to be eating that later?
I'll probably just be grazing through the interview. Yeah, because when you said you wanted to eat, I was like, all right, well, let's eat.
Oh,
I'm ready to
okay.
eat. So just yeah, you're hitting the morning, I'm hitting the night, hitting it from both ends. So
Okay. Let's slunk some eggs right now.
okie dokie.
Okie dokie. So, like, can you first talk about like where you got your eggs?
I get my eggs from my milk guy. Recently, I used to get them from a guy who had backyard chickens. They're not as good as my farmer's eggs because they're just backyard chickens. They have a decent pasture space, but they don't get a lot in the winter. But my dairy farmers chickens, they get a lot of good space throughout most of the year. So the eggs are better, and it's the other eggs are on the way to my butcher, so it's pretty convenient, and they're a little cheaper. But I'm kind of leaning more towards the quality now. So I source like 95% of my food locally within like a 30-mile radius.
Hmm. Let me summarize what you said. So, previously you were getting your eggs from your neighbor.
Not a neighbor, but just a fellow who lived out in the country, and
Hmm.
he does backyard chicken farming. It's like a hobby. So
Hmm. And right now you get your eggs from your dairy farmer. Hmm. Okay. And I guess you mentioned that the eggs are better or something. Can you be more specific about that?
yeah, so they both get a scratch feed. Um, my dairy farmer, he has a better feed. It's I don't know if it's non-GM. It might not be non-GMO organic feed, but it's still soy. There's still soy protein in it. A lot of scratch feeds chickens get, at least in America, they've got some soy in them at least. Um, so there's different processing, and some are worse than others. Um, Ideally, I aim for 30% or less soy in the chickens. And theoretically, if chickens are on pasture most of the time, they're eating more bugs and snakes and frogs and whatever's out there they can get into, and they're not eating as much scratch. So that's the case for my dairy farmers' eggs, is that they're out there on a farm versus the guy who's just got them in his backyard. They have like an acre of space, but it's still not too much for, like, he's got like 40 birds, especially in the winter time here in Ohio. There's no foraging for like a good 3 to 4 months, so the birds are just getting that feed for that time of the year. And I notice the egg shells might get a little soft, and that's kind of inconvenient, especially if you're taking like eggs to work for lunch. And you reach down to pick one up and it just breaks. You just grab it, it just breaks. You're like, it's a mess. So yeah, I'm definitely preferring the more pastured eggs.
That's an interesting perspective. So the shell, if it is harder, it's less likely to break. So more like higher maintenance, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's indicative of the birds getting enough nutrients. Because I've processed a number of chickens as well, and you can see it's kind of interesting how the eggs spawn. They spawn just from like the inside of the bird, like where the spinal cord is. The yolks there's just like a big sack of yolks, and then they make their way down the whatever digestive tract it is, and they get encased in like a calcium shell that eventually hardens on the way out. And if the bird is not healthy, the shell will not be as strong. So
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Before we move on, can you give us a little introduction about yourself?
yeah, so eat raw meat, and I started making funny videos on TikTok about 5 years ago. And that was 2 years into me eating raw meat. I had seen other people do it online, and I just thought, I don't really see anybody on TikTok doing this. I just downloaded the app, and for memes mostly, and I was like, well, I'll just do this for fun and see what happens. And I eventually started going viral on, like half a dozen videos, and got a little bit of a following. And then I know one of your questions was the I Wonder documentary, which I guess I can just segue into that. And then Travis of I Wonder reached out to me. He said, "Hey, I've seen your videos, and you actually know what you're talking about with this raw meat stuff." Because he interviewed one other girl who would eat raw meat, and she didn't really understand or care about like why it's good. She's like, "Oh, I just like the taste, and it makes me feel good." So I've done a little bit more research and things into the raw foods and why they're good, and particularly through like Aajonus Vonderplanets. And after I've read his books, I've been delving into his bibliography. People he researched, like Dr. Howell and Stephenson. It's a Scandinavian name I'm not too good at, but it's the fellow who lived with the Eskimos, the Inuits, and he wrote a great deal about his experience there with them. It's very interesting. Um, so, Travis reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I want to do this video." It was kind of last minute, kind of a crazy time with the, pandemic and everything. And there was election. The election was going on. But yeah, we made it work, and I was pretty happy with how it turned out. And I kind of wish I had more time to like do some bits or something. But I think just sort of a plain informational sort of spiel, sort of a look into what I was doing and eating that was on TikTok. The just regular raw meat, beef and pork, and I'd make a liver shake and the rotten liver, the high meat. Obviously, that got a lot of views. I was reacted to a few times by some streamers, and that whatever. But yeah, and then I stopped making videos because I was getting banned. And I know I was in your TikTok live, and you said that you were having this problem, and I'm not sure why I was having this problem, and why some people do and some people don't. I guess maybe it's just the algorithm. It's not very forgiving. But my account was going to get banned, and I was like, well, I'll just take my account private. I think I might have angered some vegans, which I'm not really an anti-vegan guy. I have friends that are vegan, and we have a mutual understanding for like what is your version of health, and we're respecting of each other's beliefs and views. So I took my account private, and then I noticed, wow, I'm actually a lot more just kind of zen in life because I'm not because I used to record like everything I ate as like a science experiment. Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna document everything I eat and show people what I'm eating and that I'm okay. And I wasn't doing that anymore. I was able to just sit down and eat, and it was kind of nice. So I'm semi-retired. I haven't really gotten back into it. I don't know if I will. And then I have my YouTube channel. I started making Primal diet advice. So Aajonus Planets' Primal diet, kind of the cornerstone of the raw meat sphere movement. That's kind of spreading around, and I'm just vlogging my experience. I do annual reports and recipes, certain like detoxification reports and topics. And if people have questions in the comments, I'll elaborate on them. Food sourcing, all kinds of things. So it's mainly just information based, no frills, no editing. And I've got over 1,000 people who just want to listen to me talk. So, good for them. I think it's helping people. Recently, I was engaged by a fellow named Phoenix, who was one of Aajonus's clients, and he used to host him when he came to North Carolina. He has experience with Amos Miller, working with him on and with farms. And he was like, I heard you were trying to like get people together. And I said, yeah, it'd be nice. And I think it would be pretty cool. I got some, contacts scattered throughout the country, and people would be interested in a meetup. And, we made this website called primaldietcoaching.com. And then we hosted a conference, which has now become an annual conference. We have July 17th to the 20th this year in Tazewell, Virginia. It's a 4-day event where you can come and learn and eat and chill. It's very fun. So I'm doing all this stuff now. I never thought I'd be doing this kind of stuff just by making funny videos on the internet. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's what's going on and what raw meat has afforded me. So
Okay. Well, I would like to talk a little bit about the pandemic stuff. So you mentioned that, I guess, like when you got your interview, the pandemic was about to start. So I guess at that time, your worldview was already like, oh, maybe you don't really think.
this was that year. I think it was like 2020 of October, November. I started making videos 3 months before everything happened.
Mhm.
So definitely having that perspective, yeah, it was kind of like, well, what's going on? Something's not right here. And I didn't really like what was going on, like a lot of other people. But, I never really had too many problems where I live. It wasn't bad like in California or New York.
So I guess you kind of thought it's not normal, but the feeling wasn't too strong.
Well, I would say I had strong feelings in terms of I was disgruntled and frustrated with things that were going on that I couldn't really do anything about. And that's how I got to know my vegan friends. They actually started a group basically called like a freedom cell, which is something Derek Bros put out. He's a freedom activist essentially. And these people, they followed him, and I got to know of the group through food security meetings that were happening through my raw milk herd share. And some people were like, oh, go to this diner. They have weekly meetings or whatever on Sundays. So it's like, oh, okay. And I went, and yeah, I met meeting like-minded people, who could see what was going on, and people had a lot of hardships like jobs and travel and family dealing with that behemoth of a problem, which is all centered on a theory. I don't want to choose my words carefully because the algorithm is always listening. So I hope people can pick up between the lines there. So yeah, definitely finding those people, even though like we eat completely different, we, having that mutual understanding and respect for like people's health and choices, and being able to have friendship and relationships above and beyond just, I eat a certain way. It gets very like dogmatic, I think, and I don't think that's a good thing or healthy. So
Can you talk a little bit about why you felt frustrated? Just like talk about your worldview back then, maybe compared to that of a normal person. Like, why did you feel frustrated? Because like normal person, they probably just feel like, oh, just follow what others are doing.
well, I don't want to say that I'm different than people, or that I'm so unique. I think everybody was frustrated in different ways. People were frustrated that people maybe weren't taking it seriously. And then people were frustrated that people were taking something seriously that, well, kind of a nothing burger. Um, so, I empathize with both perspectives. Me definitely being on the, hey, this is kind of a nothing burger. We don't need to wear masks and stuff and stay 6 feet away from each other. So, I mean, that for me was, I've always kind of been an introvert. So I wasn't someone to go out and do things all the time. And if I did, I would just go by myself. I'm the type of guy who'd go to a movie and I wouldn't need to go with anybody. I'd go want to watch the movie. I'm not going to like talk to people. So, it was a good thing and a bad thing. There's pros and cons. I could go on, but that's the gist of it.
Hmm. Okay, I kind of get it now. Let's see. Well, I think I checked your YouTube channel a while ago, and looks like there's no videos there. So did I check the wrong channel or something?
Yeah, so that's a YouTube channel I just started with my handle, Eatrawmeat. And then I have a specific channel for diet advice. It's Eat Raw Meat Primal Diet Advice. And that is just me that's all it is. Eat Raw Meat Primal Diet Advice. That's all the channel is. I never got around to making YouTube videos really, because I was mostly just focused on TikTok. That's where I had an audience. I've thought about doing something different with YouTube, not just like eating meat, more streaming, things like that. I was kind of looking into, but I never really materialized it, because by the time that happened, my TikTok was being shadow banned and threatened with deletion. And once I had that social media break for like 2 weeks, I said, oh, I don't really miss this in a lot of ways. Um, so I never really pursued that.
Hmm. So I guess in the beginning, your motivation was just to prove people wrong.
A little bit. I like doing that. I like telling people no, but it was really just to make funny videos. Because like I would use funny TikTok sounds and eat raw meat, and that was just funny to me. I didn't really care about making the best quality videos, or rehearsing things. Like a lot of, and this is kind of my beef with the internet as a whole nowadays, is that everything is it's contentified. Everything's just about content. You hear that word content, and everything's just become like stale and formulaic. Uh, when I was browsing the web growing up, there was more decentralized channels and websites, media, and the internet was a much more interesting, creative place. Nowadays, it's like the big web companies, the Facebooks, uh, TikTok, and I mean TikTok's a great app. Don't get me wrong; it's got a really nice algorithm, but it's still like a centralized platform where people are going and making content versus somebody setting up their own website and making a niche interest, or forums or message boards or places where people would congregate with ideas and make things and collaborate. It's now become like a very commercialized, contentified, centralized system of the internet. So I'm hoping the pendulum swings back the other way, and people can decentralize a little bit more and have more creativity and make the internet more interesting. Because obviously censorship's another issue too with these centralized platforms. So that's just how I kind of feel about it. But then I forget what I was talking about. I kind of got off on a tangent. I digress.
Hmm. Okay. Well, so when we were eating our eggs, I was about to like tell you how I usually go about it and hear about your insights. So let's do that right now. Yeah. So here's what I usually do. I find the white end of the egg
Yeah.
and make a little hole, but I don't actually open the egg. So it's
Right.
just like make a little break and
Mm-hmm.
then make a bigger one on the opposite end and just suck out the egg. So, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to make a hole in the bottom. The key is to break the air seal so there's flow. And yeah, this smaller end of the egg is where I intake. Like I call it the egg vortex. So yeah, and what I do is some people they will they'll crack on one side of their mouth, but I do both here, like top. And it's much faster that way, and it's less mess because you're not flipping the egg, and it's like one, two, done.
Can you do it again without like eating in a slow way?
Okay. Yeah. So
So,
just
wait. Let me ask this. So, like, you were cracking the same end?
no, I crack both ends with this top and bottom part of my mouth. So I got the top, and
Uh
there's a
huh.
hole in there. I mean, sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, and then you just crack the bottom with the bottom part of your mouth.
So, when you were making the first hole, you were using your top teeth.
Yeah.
I kind of didn't get that.
Yeah, it's better that way. Well, I just do it so fast, and I suck eggs in public all the time. Like when I'm working at the farmers market, I'll like just do an egg real quick, and nobody notices. Like that's just how fast I do it. And some people notice and they're like, did you just drink an egg? And I was like, oh, it's just a soft boiled egg. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Or sometimes I
Well,
tell them it depends on like who it is if they're going to be, weird about it.
hmm,
So
I guess I need to check the recording to really understand what you just did. But like, I want to
yeah,
tell you, like, I think you said you only need to make one hole, but you make two actually. So
yeah.
did
I
I?
make I make two holes. I don't flip the egg. That's the thing. Like because if you
Oh,
yeah, it's like if you go like okay one side and then
uh
the
huh.
other side, but I'm just doing it on one. So you make the
So
top hole with the top incisor, and then you make the bottom hole with the bottom incisor. That way you don't have to flip the egg. It's already ready to go. The egg vortex is already in position.
I see. So I guess what you were doing right there was that using a certain hand position so that you don't need to turn the egg.
Yeah, I mean, just grabbing the egg as you would, just have the vortex on the bottom, where you want to pull from, and then just on the top, on the bottom, and then engage.
Nice, nice. I first time seeing this style. Is that like created by you?
I don't want to say that essentially, but I also want to say I haven't seen anybody else do it. So maybe I am the first person to do it. I know
W.
there's a video of Aajonus. He's on the doctor's program and he sucks an egg. I don't remember how he did it. He might have done it that way. I mean, he was a pretty smart guy. He probably I've consumed, no joke. It's been 7 years on the diet. I'm 7 years and 3 months into it, and I've probably consumed 7 times 4, close to 30,000 eggs. Because I consume about 4,300 eggs a year.
Yeah, so it counts if you can save like 0.1 second for every
Yeah,
egg.
that's the other thing about like cooking food too. The health benefits and everything from eating raw food is great, but I used to be pretty good at cooking and baking, and I enjoyed it. I was good at it, and people were like, they enjoyed what I would make. And but now I'm like, I'm not going to go back to cooking and cleaning. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still clean. I'm not a savage. I don't leave my plates and shells everywhere. I rinse them all.
Looks like we lost him. I hope he comes back soon.
Cooked food
Oof.
is it takes forever.
I think I lost you.
Okay.
Yeah,
All I said was I don't miss cooking food because of the cleaning. And cooking also takes a long time. You have to wait around for it and everything. And then you have to clean all the cooked fats off of everything. With the raw meat, it's so much easier. It rinses out with just mostly warm water. I don't like using soap or detergents. I'll use like a lemon peel and scrub and get that off if I need to. Um, Vinegar is great. So yeah, I mean, you save so much time not cooking your food. If it wasn't, if there were no health benefits from eating raw foods, I would still eat raw foods because it saves me so much time. Honestly, I'm lazy.
that's I can relate to that. Yeah. Well, let's see. Yeah. Oh, so like let's keep talking about eating eggs. So I think you mentioned something about air cell or something. I know like the reason why people make two holes. There is like a specific reason, but can you talk more about the mechanism?
Yeah, so you have to have airflow. If the shell is not punctured through two ends, you're not going to have any suction. You're not going to be able to get all the egg out properly, easily, without a mess. So if you have two, I'm trying to think, it's like when you're trying to pour a container. You've got like a container of something and you're trying to pour it into something else. And it kind of glugs out at a certain pace or whatever. But if you put a hole in the back end, it is much more fluid. The aerodynamics are improved. So that's essentially what's going on with two holes in the egg. And like I said, it doesn't even need to be a hole. You just have to break the shell. And there's a membrane under the shell that doesn't have to be pierced, but the shell has to be broken for that airflow.
Nice, nice. I feel like I am a lot more filled in now. Yeah. Um, so I guess what I told you about how I go about this is pretty correct. It's just that I can make it more fast.
Yeah, you can reduce your movements, your burden, your mess. Because sometimes, if you're flipping the egg and it can get a little bit of whatever egg can come out. That's, just because we eat raw foods doesn't mean we have to be messy about it. So,
Well, have you seen some other styles of eating raw eggs? So I've seen like the real natural human diet. He used table, if you know that.
uses what?
So like, let's see if I can. So let's say this is a table. So he uses the table to crack his egg.
Oh,
He doesn't use his teeth.
interesting. No, I haven't seen Wes eat eggs like that. But yeah, like I said, as long as you have you break the seal, you can get into the egg. When I feed eggs to dogs, they will crunch the egg with their nose, and then they will lick out the egg off the ground. So,
Okay. So that's another style.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's see. Mm, yeah, let me talk about like your diet journey first. So, oh wait. So in our previous conversation, you mentioned that you were once in Taiwan.
Yes.
So, like, what was happening? Why were you in Taiwan?
I used to teach English in Taiwan.
Ooh, that's
And actually,
crazy.
I have something special here. Well, this isn't special in the crabs that I get or the oysters that I get, but this is pea crabs
Ooh,
and
nice.
oysters.
Can you also show the oyster?
Yeah, oh, it's gone.
Well, can you kind of flip it?
I don't want to. Hold on, I gotta get the juice out of there. I don't want to get
Oh,
it on the
sounds good.
computer.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, I used to teach English in Taiwan. I used to live abroad. I moved to Nepal after college, and I was living there for about 4 months. And then I was either going to go to India because I had a 10-year India visa, or if I found a job somewhere, I was going to go work. And I ended up getting this job in Taiwan, and I worked there for it was like 9 months. I was finishing out a teacher's contract, and yeah, I liked Taiwan. I think it's a place I'd like to visit again. I don't know if I'd like to live there because I'm not really big into heat and humidity um, and bugs. So maybe now that I'm a little healthier and the humidity may not bother me as much. Um, but yeah, I didn't really like being sweaty and being around a lot of bugs. So I'm not too crazy about that. I really liked the food and the people were nice. Um, I lived in Dajia, which is a small district outside of Taichung. So I could see the ocean from my apartment, and I lived next to this really big temple. It was really cool. Um, yeah, I remember the Matsu festival. That was probably the coolest time when I was in Taiwan. Everybody lighting off fireworks, and you'd have like dancing girls on trucks, and they're like, "Oh, this is for this is religious," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Yes, we don't really have that type of religious ceremony in America, but it was interesting. Fireworks everywhere, and it's the big crowds of people, and they're parading the Matsu. I don't know if it was a statue or an idol of some effigy, around the island, and um, yeah, it was really interesting. Um, I had a bad omen when I lived there too because English teacher I knew. His name was Tim. He was from New Zealand. He was killed by a drunk driver. So that was pretty sad to see because he just got married and had a baby with a local Taiwanese woman. And he wasn't even crazy about teaching English in Taiwan. He felt like it was his mission as a Christian because he was teaching. It was I don't know if it was a private school that was in our network or if it was a sister network of schools that was a Christian based organization. But anyway, that's where he was teaching. The one day this guy goes out to lunch instead of eating at the school, bam, gets hit by a drunk driver. And I was at the funeral, of course. His family came up from New Zealand, and the driver was there. Like he was in the church, he was in the pew, and he had his head down. It's very sad. But then in the service, the mother and the father they say something or whatever. But anyway, they forgive this guy and they give him a hug in front of everybody. And I was like, wow, that's like really, like that takes, some real compassion. Like those are real, like Christian people. And it really touched me. But yeah, I moved back to the States to work on some other projects and enhance my skills, my career skills, because basically if you go teach English in another country, if you're not specialized in something, then you're just going to be teaching regular English like K through 12. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a decent job. You get paid very well in terms of like the cost of living and what other local teachers get paid. And your accommodations usually paid for. So, I mean, there's a lot of perks. But it's just kind of repetitive, to like teach a low level English stuff. Is the best way I can put it. Certainly not the worst job I've had. If I had to do it again, I would. But I moved back to the States to hone more business English. And something I was doing part time was tutoring Japanese business executives in English who would come over, mostly manufacturing companies who have a presence here, and just telling them about life in America and helping them go through like reports and making presentations and how to talk and interact with people and how, business relations are done like in America. So yeah, I mean, now I have some more experience if I wanted to go back and do that. I don't know, maybe someday, maybe someday I will, maybe someday I won't, but it's just how life works. But like I said, I've been to Nepal. I've lived there twice for extended periods of time. Been to Italy, been to Hong
Can I ask
Kong.
some questions first?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Well, I guess like if I ask you a question, try to just answer it because
Sorry. Yeah,
you
I'm
said,
reminiscing. I'm reminiscing. Please interrupt
dude,
me. Please
I
interrupt
feel
me.
like your vocabulary is I guess because you teach English or something. I feel like you often say words I don't really know.
Sorry, I'll
No,
try to
like
keep it more.
it's okay. I just want to like point it out.
Okay.
Yeah. But like I was just trying to tell you that I think it's good that you are sharing a lot, but sometimes I want to ask you questions. So maybe I'll like give you a gesture or something.
Just
Yeah,
interrupt
yeah, yeah.
me. Just interrupt me. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
sounds good. Sounds good. Well, so let me kind of like summarize what you said. So you graduated college and you went to Nepal first, and then you went to Taiwan. Is that correct? Hmm.
Yes.
I see. I see. What like motivated you to want to, I guess, work abroad or something?
I'd say I wanted to go abroad again because I had lived in Nepal previously, and perhaps being a younger person, maybe a little disillusioned with things, that the grass is always greener on the other side, sort of thing. Um, it isn't. There's pros and cons everywhere you go. Um, but yeah, that in a nutshell, basically, and just not really, I don't, I still don't even really know what I want to like do with my life, or like if there's a passion or a project or something specifically I want to like wake up and do every day. I don't feel like I'm alone in that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Um, that's just the way it is. So I felt like that would be an interesting thing to do, to travel and teach. And it was. So
Hmm. Sounds like a solid plan. Nice. Well, let's see. So like I guess in your student life you also live in Nepal.
um, yeah, I took 4 months off college. This was we had quarters, so I took a quarter off school basically, and I went to Nepal, and I was basically just living the easy life. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I was you know, trekking and hiking and sightseeing villages and around Kathmandu and around the valley there, going on day trips mostly, and just it was very interesting having elevated purchasing power because I was like, yeah, like I'm like living pretty good, and I'm spending like $6-7 a day. So that was pretty interesting. It was a very I had never had a experience or anything like that in my life, and it was very nice to experience. I got to read a lot of books as well, so and meet a lot of different people from all over the world. So it was great.
Hmm. Okay. What language do they speak there?
They speak Nepali
Oh.
and a little bit of Hindi. They have an open border with India, so there's a lot of Indians coming into Nepal. But that's actually the first place I actually ate raw meat. I was staying at a hotel called the Hotel Sugat, and the owner there, he's Nawari, which is an ethnicity in Nepal, and the Nawari dish is called keema, which is raw buffalo with spices. And I don't know if it's millet, but it's like some sort of oats or grains. Um, anyway, I was drinking with him in the lobby at night watching a soccer match, and he ordered food. He was always eating, and he brought this food in. And he said, "Oh, this is keema, good, try it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I started eating. And he's like, "Oh, this is raw buffalo," and I was like, "What?" I was I was drinking a little whiskey at the time, so I kind of was like, "Oh, well, no, the bacteria from the alcohol from the whiskey will kill the bacteria, so I'll be safe." But none of that really mattered. But I was fine. I woke up the next morning, obviously a little hungover from the cheap whiskey, but I was not affected by the raw meat. So that was the first time I like ever ate raw meat outside of sushi or whatever. So that's a special place in Nepal, and that was 15 years ago. So
Hmm. Do you know something that's called like, I guess, so like in Taiwan there's something that's called edible raw. So like um for example, when you go buy eggs, they're going to have different categories.
uh-huh.
So one of the categories is that, oh, you can eat this raw. Have you heard
Interesting.
of that before? Oh, okay.
No,
So
I
that's
was
like
not into
how
that.
Japan works in my
Hmm.
as far as I know. So like in Japanese culture, eating raw eggs I think is pretty normal,
Hmm.
and that's because they feed their chicken a specific way. So humans think that the eggs that the chicken produce are going to be edible raw. I guess that's like, as far as I know, like they try to let the chicken live in a very germ-free environment, and so basically the environment is going to be very man-made, and maybe they're going to use certain lights, give them certain feed, give them certain water, so to make sure everything doesn't have germ. And like in humans' opinion, that's going to mean that the eggs are going to be edible raw. That's probably
Hmm.
not the most correct term, but there's something that's like that. And well, yeah, I guess I was just trying to ask you, do you think the raw meat you ate was classified as that? Because that's what people really care about when it comes to like normal modern person. So for example, when I'm sharing myself eating raw eggs, raw meat online, people always like to ask me like, is that edible raw?
Hmm. Yeah, no, that definitely they definitely don't do that in Nepal. Um,
So I guess that was just meat from a normal animal, like a normal animal that maybe lives in a not very optimal outside condition or just lives outside.
yeah, I mean, I think the
Mm.
meat in Nepal isn't bad quality. They don't have a lot of industrial farming practices. Um, so I mean, it was
So maybe that's more on the pasture raised side.
yeah, probably. Um,
Interesting. So I guess their culture when it comes to eating raw meat is a lot more like okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's wait for a while and see what happens. Yeah, we're talking about their culture. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope Irami, the man himself, comes back. So far, my favorite part was we talking about raw eggs. I hope the problem is not from myself. Yeah. Is he going to come back? Let me. Oh, he is gone. You guys need to be chilling with me here. And I just need to remember what we were talking about. Let me eat some raw meat. I feel like some people might be checking out this part. Yeah. I still have a bunch of nice questions to ask, so stay tuned, guys. Well, let me check my Instagram real quick to see if he DMs me. Let me DM him first. Let me see when he comes back. Oh, also when he was talking about how cooking maybe is going to make you spend a lot more time. That part is also pretty fun. For those who haven't really tried eating raw meat for most of your diet, it's probably harder to relate to that. But if you have actually tried just maybe like only eating raw food or eating a lot of raw food in your diet, you are going to notice that, oh, it saves so much time. Yeah. Just take fat, for example. When you cook fat, your containers will become a lot more greasy. If it's raw, then a lot easier to clean up. My bro is gone. I DM him on Instagram and it looks like he hasn't he hasn't replied. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think we'll know what's going on. Yeah, because it's either he DMs me and tell me he cannot show up for certain reasons, or he will come back. We'll see. We'll see. We will see. I have a lot to ask about him. He shared a lot of stuff. Come on. I hope he comes back. Where's bro? Bro is gone. Bro is gone. Guys, give me 1 second. Let me grab my clinics. Yeah, looks like my internet is fine. So something happened to him. Hope he comes back. Come back, bro. Come back, bro. Let's pray together, guys. This is pretty unexpected. First time this happens to me. Come back, bro. Let's pray. Come back, bro. Come back, bro. Oof. I was lagging a little. By the way, so I guess this interview will only be seen mostly by English speakers. So let me tell you guys what this is. This says a steak a day keeps the doctor away. If you guys don't know that, I would like my English to be better. Feel like I'm still not entirely comfortable getting my points across in English. Dude is gone. Oh, he read my message. We're making progress now. Let's see what he says. Having some internet difficulties. Okay. So he just told me he will be here shortly. Well, let me try to tell him it's okay. Sounds good. Let me try to like contact him. I'll be talking to the listeners, so take your time. Yeah, I just tried to like tell him to um take his time. Yeah, just need to remember what we were talking about and what I want to ask him. That's on my mind, and I already have some questions here that I prepared. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens, guys. Looks like my microphone is okay. My man's back. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Yeah, he's back. Let's go. All right. Well, oh, I want to like remind you or like tell you. So like uh I don't know how long we will talk for, and my microphone might run out of power. So if you ever notice that I sound weird or something, let me know and let me change my microphone.
Okay.
So that's nice. Okay. So we were talking about Nepal's culture when it comes to raw meat. So I guess I was just trying to ask you, like, I guess they also have social media. Like, if they see people post about them eating raw meat on social media, what do you think the residents there would generally feel?
They would probably think it's, cool, especially if it was someone who was not that was not part of their culture, like an American. They think American, oh, cheeseburgers, french fries, hot dogs, pizza. It'd be kind of weird to see an American eating raw meat. Maybe not so much anymore because that's kind of on the internet now and has been. But, and I think maybe chicken still, like people might get weirded out about that, um, because it's chicken for whatever reason. But yeah, they have a pretty accepting culture when it comes to that sort of thing. And I mentioned raw dairy too. I went to the Shivaratri at Pashupati in Kathmandu, and I saw this guy there named the Milk Baba, and he took a vow to only drink milk. So he lived only on milk for like 20 years plus. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
A guy in Nepal?
Yeah.
Ooh. So, well, is that guy like a dairy farmer?
No. He was a sadhu. So um, a sadhu is someone who takes a vow of asceticism, and they will take a vow for like maybe a specific thing. Like there was one guy who always raised his hand. He never took his hand down, and his arms like all shriveled up because he's been holding his hand up for years and the muscles atrophied. And the milk baba, he all he drank was milk. So they're
So
called
it's like
babas. And yeah.
they have like this tradition or like culture where people will try to really focus on one thing.
Yes, it's a
Oh,
vow of like spiritual fortitude in the Hindu religion most
okay.
commonly.
Sounds like it can be fun. I don't know. So like when it comes to the guy who just drink milk, do you think he's healthy?
Um, I can't say. I don't think he was in bad health. I know he's not alive anymore. Um, but there is a more radical sect of Sadhu called a Gory Baba, and they will consume uh, they will consume raw meat. They will engage in cannibalism and eating and drinking excrement as well. So that's like the very far end, and they dress in all black, and they're pretty crazy guys. I saw some of them at this festival, um, but yeah. So there's a broad range. If you just search up like Milk Baba, you can find some blog posts about this guy, and you can read more about a Gory Baba, Aghori Baba, and about like what they do and what they're about. Some people say they can like see the future and stuff, and they're very mysterious and kind of weird, obviously. But yeah, so it's an interesting world. Interesting world.
So you were saying that in Nepal there is a group of people who eat raw meat, and they might eat other humans, and other humans like secretion.
So it's not a group of people. Technically, it's not an ethnic group. It's a sect of Sadhu, which is a priest in various of the Hindu religions. There really isn't a Hindu religion, but colloquially, for generalization purposes, that's what I'm calling it. Uh, yeah, there's a sect of people who engage in that in a ritualistic uh, eh, capacity for whatever reason. Like I said, there's the guy who raised his hand. He never took his hand down. There's, the milk bottle. All he drank was milk. And so, like, people will do this for spiritual fortitude and to say, like, yes, my way is, there's validity in my way, for lack of a better word. And this group, they engage in those things for, whatever, whether it's power or I don't know exactly. But that's, that's just it's interesting. So something I saw there. I mean, I didn't see anybody eating poop, okay, but I saw the Agori Baba because they were in all black, and I was drinking tea at the festival with my friends, and they were like, "Oh, those are Agori Baba," and just a bunch of like really raggedy guys in black rags wrestling each other in the middle of the street. It was weird.
Hmm.
Also,
Okay.
Naga Babas, which is naked Baba. So it's people who are just naked. And they do really strange things with uh, the Shiva trident rod in their phallus, their member. Um, yeah. So there's a lot. It's a lot. It's an interesting world, like I said. So,
Okay, what you just said was a little bit complicated for me, but I guess there are some people there who have more unusual behavior.
yeah. If
Hmm.
you want to
Are,
look,
are you talking about like actual people, or you are just talking about like theoretically?
I'm talking about actual people. These are
Oh,
sadhus,
so
priests.
but like you mentioned like cannibalism, like how can they eat
Uh,
other human?
they're dead, I guess.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So that can also be classified as cannibalism because
Hmm.
like I thought
Yeah, cannibalism
like
is eating not necessarily
killing.
alive people. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, people have to be dead to eat them, I guess. But yeah, if someone dies, they might eat their remains.
Okay.
So
So actually, I wanted to ask this question to you. So, what do you think about eating a human?
no thanks, I'm
Okay,
good.
so like, I'm talking about like in certain situations. Yeah, yeah. Like because I guess we are people who eat raw meat are more open to things. Like it's not like things are just this and that. So I don't know because
Yeah,
like
I don't think I would
do
ever have
do
to
you
do
know
that.
Do you know a guy called Oscarvore?
Yes.
Uh-huh. So like he was asked this question on an interview.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So can you like add like talk about that? Just like my question. What do you think?
If I would
Or
eat people, no. I don't see uh, a situation where that would be required. Um, Stranded out at sea, catch a fish, um, you know, foraging, that sort of thing. You know, I, I live in an area where there's a lot of wildlife, so I mean maybe this is situational dependent, very big hypothetical, but no, I'm not. I'm not. I wouldn't eat people because people really aren't that healthy either. So, um, yeah, they say that pork is the closest thing to human meat. Um, I don't know how they figured that out, but and I like pork, but I'm not going to eat. I wouldn't eat people.
I see, I see. So sounds like you're not really interested in thinking about this.
I don't even really like killing and eating animals. Honestly, if I didn't have to eat animals, I wouldn't. I would just eat eggs and dairy, and maybe
Hmm. Hmm.
fish and shellfish. I wouldn't eat ruminants or poultry.
Well, like what you just described sounds not too bad for me. What do you think will happen if you don't eat things like ruminants, poultry, but live on milk, eggs, fish?
I think you can have, depending on like someone's health and what they need. I think you can do okay. I think you can do good. I think you can thrive. Um, for me, being in a not so great state of health because of exposure to the pharmaceutical industry and yearly doctor visits with the injections and antibiotics. Um, I need red meat to help build up my muscle and my organs and my glands. Also, for energy, there was a year that I cut out red meat, but and it wasn't so bad, but I noticed my hair thinned a little bit. I noticed I did have a little less energy. Um, but after that year of just eating fish paste for a year, basically, um, I got my taste back for red meat, and I started eating more red meat. Started feeling better. Um, so yeah, I think for like Aajonus, he talks about his story how he found some tribe in the Philippines, which who knows? I mean, there's no proof of it, but I don't think he's lying about it. But he said all they ate was fish and coconut and your odd banana or mango mostly. So, and they were very strong, hardy, healthy people. So, again, I think depending on like where you're living, and of course, like how much sunlight you're getting, how much pollution you're exposed to, like these are all factors of health. So, just personally, like for me, no, I wouldn't even like eat a human, and I think that like I mean even just personally like I don't like eating and killing and eating animals, and
Hmm.
I've killed animals before. Like I've done sheep and a lot of birds, and I just don't like it. I don't. I like animals, so I'm not fond of killing them. I wish I didn't have to, but I know for my health I need them. I feel better, and I hope that I'm doing the right thing. So.
Were you a vegan at one point?
I tried to go vegetarian for like 3 days, and I used to train and compete in Kyokushin karate, and I thought, oh well, like maybe this vegetarian stuff is good. I'll try to cut out meat. I tried it for like 2 or 3 days, and I was like, nope, this is not going to work.
So
So
you immediately felt bad?
yeah, well, I wouldn't say I felt bad. I felt I felt um,
Less optimal.
yeah, for lack of a better word, I felt lacking. I felt lacking. I needed the meat, especially when I was training, 2 to 4 hours most days of the week. I needed that. I would eat a lot of hard boiled eggs with my rice, and I'd usually do like cabbage or broccoli, asparagus, and chicken or beef or pork, just meat. And that was what I was basically eating. And I tried eggs, and I was like, no, this isn't gonna work. I can't do it. So
Mhm. Okay. Well, let's see. Um, can you talk a little bit about your overall diet journey? So, what were you eating growing up, and then maybe you went vegetarian, and then you went raw food? Yeah, just talk a bit about the progression.
unfortunately, I had the deck stacked against me. I was raised on formula. So if you don't get mother's milk, you get this soy formula. Unfortunately, that's what I was nursed on. Um, Growing up, my mom was a good cook, and we had food, and there was she knew what she was doing. Um, Fortunately, in the womb, I was eating. All my mom ate was steamed chicken breast and vegetables, so I wasn't getting a lot of like good fats or red meat. But you know, um, those yearly doctor visits compound. I was always going in for like strep throat, ear infection once, twice a year, getting antibiotics, skim milk. I used to drink a lot of skim milk. I always wanted milk, and my mom would never buy whole milk. And I wanted whole milk so bad. When I would go over to a friend's house and they had whole milk, I would like drink all of it. I was craving whole milk. Beef, pasta. I didn't eat a lot of vegetables. Um, grains, breads, that sort of thing. Cereal, probably too much cereal. Fruit snacks, not a lot of soda. And I started working at a Subway when I was in high school, and I probably ate too much Subway. Eventually, I got sick of it, and that was probably when I started paying attention to food because I get bored at work, and I would start reading the ingredients just for fun, and I would look them up. And I don't want to say I was the first person to like put this out there, but I was reading the bread, and there's this ingredient called azodicarbonamide in the bread, and basically it's a thickening agent, a binding agent they put in plaster and yoga mats, and they were putting it in the Subway bread. And I was like, how is this even like what? And I was I was just taken aback, and I would look at other foods. Then I was looking at other foods, and I'm like, well, why is this in there? Like, how does that even make sense? And I grew up with very extreme eczema, where I would have like open wounds on basically the like both sides of my arm, like here on both sides and behind the knees, and it was just always scabbing, oozing, bloody, flaky, and it was all behind my neck as well. And eventually, it just kind of went away. After the steroids, and it would just come back. So I had asthma as well. So I've had these health problems, and I was in the doctor and out of the doctor, and I just got sick of going to the doctor, and I started looking at the food, and I became definitely when I went to Nepal and I was eating the food there, and then I came back, it was like night and day, and then I was like, okay, this is that I have to change this. Like it just has to happen. And I wasn't eating, I would still eat fast food and stuff, but I was more controlled with it. But I was doing more effort to eat a little more local and organic ish whole foods, less processed foods. Um, and when I when I started seeing videos of people eat raw meat, it was like 2017, and I was like, oh, these people are crazy. and then in 3 months later they're not dead, they're not sick. And so I was like, okay, well that's interesting. And you read more about like what people in their experience. And so in 2018, January 1st, I was like, all right, it's a new year, let's do it. And I just, I started liver, eggs, and honey, and then ground beef, and I just started replacing more and more of my diet with raw foods. And then I was reading Aajonus Vonderplanitz' books and doing more of the Primal diet, and that's basically how it went.
All right, let me kind of summarize. So sounds like when you were growing up, it's just a pretty normal diet on the kind of less optimal side, and just like pretty low fat sounds like.
Yeah, low fat, but mostly whole foods. Not not too many processed foods. I was pretty lucky in America. Like a lot of people are just raised on all processed foods, but my mom was a good cook, so I had that
Mm,
going for me.
sounds like your mom was like caring about your health. Like she only wanted you to drink skim milk, but just
Yeah.
on the wrong direction.
Right. Yeah.
Mm, mm. Okay. And then you kind of like after you came back from Nepal, you started to eat a little more whole food, and then in 2018 you went all raw, or like
Hmm.
gradually became all raw.
Yeah.
That's a pretty interesting journey. Yeah, because like um, I don't know to go from because I feel like when I first started to like eat raw meat, I was already a carnivore, and I feel like I was already a lot less programmed. Yeah. So
Hmm.
so like it was still hard for me to eat raw meat.
Right.
Yeah. So to go from just still being a pretty normal person to just eating raw meat, that sounds like a very big transition. Yeah. Did you do a lot of research before you start to eat raw food?
No, the most research I did was finding a place that was a good butcher in my area, and it like literally just opened up. So it's the place in the I Wonder video. I don't know if it's still in business, but and I don't go there anymore because I found a better place. But yeah, it was just divine timing, like just the synergy. Um, Interestingly enough, I remember seeing the Aajonus Ripley's Believe It or Not back in 2010 on Reddit. And I remember seeing that and thinking how crazy that was. But I never thought to investigate it. But I think I go back and I think to myself, if I was like thinking about that and investigating that, how much probably better my life would be if I would have, you know, started eating that way 15 years ago, and I would have skipped, half a dozen injections as well and more antibiotics. So, I can't dwell on that and regret that. I mean, I'm thankful for the past 7 years, but I think it's just interesting how life happens that way. It's kind of cyclical. Like if you're meant to find something, it will come to you.
Mm. So I guess you feel kind of unfortunate that maybe you miss out on some time.
In a way, I mean, not. You can't beat yourself up over that too much because I was pretty indoctrinated with the scientism. So, I probably would have not, and I probably would have brushed it off, even doing some more investigation. So I just wasn't ready for it.
But like yeah, I guess you want to like start eating cleaner, more optimal earlier. What's like the main motivation? Is it because you want your skin to have been better or your mood, things like those?
Yeah, so I think for a lot of people making radical changes, they have to be at like rock bottom where they're desperate to try anything to fix their health problems. Going to the doctor doesn't work and this thing doesn't work and nothing's working. So you're desperate and you're trying anything and you'll latch on to the thing that is the most consistent that provides results. So I was not particularly in a place where I was desperate for solutions. I just was interested in exploring other ways of eating, um, because I thought they might help me optimize my performance, but also help me heal injuries. I had been fighting for or competing, for 3 years at that point, and I had, a couple busted knuckles, and I broke my foot. I sprained my wrist a couple times, and just being kicked in the legs like thousands of times, it just kind of adds up. So I was thinking like, oh, well, maybe I should do something if it can like heal my body. Like, what if it could heal my body? And interestingly enough, it did. My knees and my legs they're fine now. The bad news is that like when I go to kick a heavy bag, I have my nerves all grew back on my shins, so I don't have that like conditioning anymore. So like the good news is the diet works. It will heal your body over time, but the bad news is I can't. I'm not conditioned. I'm not in fighting shape anymore. It's kind of a bummer. But I haven't been active for like 4 years, so it is what it is.
Hmm. I guess I'm not sure if you are like answering my question the way I wanted. So let me try to like ask you again. So it's like with the knowledge you have right now, and if you could go back, maybe you would want to start eating like you do now when you were like younger or something.
Oh
What would
yeah, I mean, of
what would be
course,
the what would be
everybody.
the motivation?
Yeah, I don't know, just how I feel now,
Oh, cool.
and avoiding pitfalls. It's like, yeah, hindsight's 2020. Of course, anyone's going to go back in time and do things completely differently. Like, if everybody could go back 15, 20 years ago, everybody would
Oh,
save up their money to buy Bitcoin. I mean,
uh,
it's like that. So,
yeah. So I'm trying to like because like take myself for example. When I was still eating a normal diet, my mental health was not good, and
hmm
mm, like right now when I think back, I just want my past self to have my now state, so I could have a happier life. Like for example, um, just like socially things like those. So more of that would be more of my motivation. Like I want to just have a nicer social life. So do you have something like that? Like for example, maybe your skin was bad and it hurted your confidence, so you wanted to like you wish you had been on a clean diet at that time.
yeah, I mean, I'm not really so sure that my diet would have changed anything because I think the eczema was a detoxification. I think of the eczema as more like a fungus on the skin because I have no scarring when I should have had scarring. I'm really surprised that I don't have scars where I had eczema because it was brutal. It was just disgusting. Open wounds basically, and it was just the skin breaking down some matter trying to get it out of the body. I don't know if it was grains. I don't know if it was heavy metals, but there in those areas, the arms and behind the legs and the neck, there's a lot of lymph nodes in those areas. So my system was dumping something out of the skin, and I maybe if I was eating more raw fats, it would have helped. But I even going back in time, I don't really see how that would have been possible to get because even now it's probably easier to get some of these foods because there's more awareness about them versus like going back 20 years and like, mom, I need raw milk for my eczema. It's like I don't I don't really see that of been doing anything, especially having to have that conversation as a child with your parents. Like, I see people post in forums all the time, like, I'm 16 and I want to eat this way, but my parents won't let me. And it's like, well, sorry, man. That is what it is. Like, trying to fight those battles and people's perception. Like it's how do you do it? So I mean, you can't live in the past and regret. Like, you have to be grateful for what you have now and make the most of it. So that's what I try to do. But everybody thinks like that. Like, oh, well, what about the past? What if I did things differently? And
Hmm.
that's normal. But you just can't. You just got to move on. You just can't beat yourself up over it.
I see. I see. Okay. Let's see. So, like, I guess you kind of mentioned that when you came back from Nepal to the state, you felt like you felt worse. Like you could notice a difference. So, what were you eating in Nepal? Like, if like I understood you correctly.
Well, I wouldn't say I was eating the best, but the food quality was definitely better. The one thing I incorporated into my diet was raw dairy. They had curd, um, which I would buy at the Bhaktapur King Curd shop, and I would eat a lot of that, and then I would eat a lot of. It wasn't. I don't know if it was raw. I can't say for sure if it was raw when I would go to restaurants, but I would eat like the curd with muesli, which was like some grains and fruit for breakfast, and I'd have eggs. But I would eat the local fare as well, like fried food, like samosas and gulab jamun and jiri, which are sweets. I really love those. I would get snacks a lot, like chocolate biscuits or Snickers. I used to smoke a lot of cigarettes and beaties. So a lot of stir fry and dumplings. I love dumplings, noodle soups. Dalbat it's the prime staple of Nepali cuisine, which is rice, lentils, pickled vegetables, and little like plain root vegetables, and sometimes chicken. I'd eat like rajma, which is beans. I'd put curd in that, and naan, bread, chapati, roti, tandoori chicken, buffalo, goat. So I like ate a lot of that stuff and different stuff, but I would splurge, and I'd drink beer, and I'd drink liquor, and I smoked a lot too. I started really smoking when I moved to Asia. So
Mm. So,
um,
sounds like you were just eating a little more animal products in Nepal.
um, I was always a pretty big meat eater. I would always eat meat.
Hmm. So
I
you just
lived,
think the food quality was better?
yeah,
Maybe the
absolutely. I
place was
wasn't,
less polluted.
yeah, I wasn't getting the glyphosate wheat product. That's a big problem in America. Is all the wheat sprayed with glyphosate, but it wasn't. It didn't really seem to be the case in Nepal. So yeah, but I ate meat a lot all the time. I lived at home during college, which is how I was able to save up to travel.
Hmm.
But then when I transferred schools to finish my degree, I was living on my own. I was eating. I was not eating enough, and I was mostly vegetarian, eating mostly like eggs, potatoes, onions, peanut butter sandwiches, tuna, and mac and cheese, um, pizza once a week, and sometimes I treat myself to a cheeseburger. But that's all I ate, and I was the lowest weight in my life. I was like 108 pounds, and I'm like 5'7". Now I weigh. My height was like 188. Now I'm down to 176. I'm losing weight. But yeah, I used to weigh 108 pounds, so I was like really skin and bones. But I was a broke college student, So
So would it be fair to say that in Nepal it's pretty normal to eat raw meat and raw dairy?
more so raw dairy than raw meat. Raw
Oh,
meat is sort of localized among one or two ethnic groups,
I see. I
especially
see.
the Nawari, which they primarily live around the Kathmandu area, the Kathmandu Valley. But there's like over 26 ethnic groups in Nepal, so there's a lot of different, people and ways of life. It's very uh, divided by the rigorous geography and terrain. So,
Hmm. Okay. Let's see. What were you eating in Taiwan?
oh,
Talk about like some local food.
oh man,
Because like for me, it's hard for me to say those foods name in English. So I'm interested to hear what you would say.
the one, the one, the one thing I remember, I'm not good at tonal languages, so I had a really hard time picking up Mandarin, and I never really I never really did. But Xiaolong Bao, that's the one thing I remember because that was my favorite. I would go to this place every day for lunch. I'd get the pork soup dumplings, Xiaolong Bao, and yeah, man, that was the best. The black vinegar, the soy sauce, the chili oil, and oh man, that was the best. And beef, they had really good beef noodle soup. Um, I'd get that as well, and I'd eat that, and then I'd go smoke a cigarette and have my tea, and oh, that was the best. That was just the best food. Fried rice, fried dumplings as well. Uh, let's see. I'd get teppanyaki, which isn't really like Taiwanese. I think it was more like Japanese roots, but there's a teppanyaki place I'd go to, and just simple, on the grill. But yeah, like all different kinds of dumplings. I tried. If there was a dumpling and I didn't try it, I was like, I have to try this kind of dumpling. And I dumplings are probably like my favorite food. And a good plate of fried rice. I love spicy food. You see a lot of spicy food. Um, there was a fusion breakfast place. It was like Taiwanese and Western breakfast, and they made this like fried egg with ham and sauce. I don't know what they did, but it was so good. Um, yeah, just stuff like that. I ate McDonald's once. Somebody at the buxiban, they brought McDonald's in for the staff, and it was so bad. I didn't get sick, but like I didn't feel good after eating it. I was like, ugh. Um, I'd go to the markets. I didn't like the what was it, green bean, like soft serve, green bean smoothie, something like that. Um, yeah, I didn't like that. The fried chicken was pretty good, and then I ate chicken rectum. That was interesting. It definitely didn't taste bad. It was very like fatty and gristly. It was a good fried food. Um, yeah, just those kinds of foods. I go to 7-Eleven sometimes and just get like various, sometimes processed stuff, just quick and cheap. And I love the juice and the tea selections. Um, Snickers bars. I was a big like that was the one thing I was always like. I always wanted something sweet. It's like I always had to have something sweet like candy or ice cream. Um, I really liked buying fruit. It was the first place I ever had yellow watermelon. It was in Taiwan, and there was a fruit stand I go to, and I'd always get like a watermelon once a week for myself and my roommates, and we would eat that. Um, but yeah, those are my fondest food memories of
Nice.
Taiwan. So yeah,
I
it's
think what you
great.
just said, what you just said were all pretty classic.
Yeah,
So you know what's up.
they're
I can
classic for a
really
reason.
relate to what you said.
Yeah, I'm pretty strict on this diet now here, but if I was to go to like Japan or Taiwan or something, I would definitely indulge in a lot of these things again, um, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
that,
Well,
that's great.
something that's a little off topic. So I heard you mention 补习班. So like in Taiwan, we are usually taught that if you want to refer to that, you need to say cram school. So I guess for you that those two are different. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's what they always called the cram school when I was working because I worked for a private school, and then the owner also had private cram schools or bushibans. Um, and that's what we call like, you're going to the kindergarten in the morning, and then you're going to the bushiban in the afternoon. That was the schedule. So, which was like it was kindergarten, and then there was like fourth grade through eighth grade at the cram school, English cram school. So, yeah, that's what they
Yeah,
called it.
I mean, like, do you think 补习班 and cram school are words with different meanings, or you just like prefer to talk about this with 补习班?
In my in my understanding, bushiban means cram school. Is
Hmm.
that not the case?
No. I'm just like trying to figure out why you use the word buxiban instead of cram school.
Oh, well, that's just what we called it in Taiwan. We didn't say
Mm,
go to the cram school
I
because
see.
usually we were talking with the staff. So
Mm,
I wouldn't refer to Bushiban as cram school to the Taiwanese
for sure.
staff. So
Understandable. But for you, those are the same.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Because like sometimes students are taught wrong English.
Hmm.
So like teachers are going to tell you, oh, if you want to say this in English, you should say this. But in actual reality, that's not how natives say it. So
I
I was
always
trying to figure
taught
that out.
I always taught my students the best English. So
For sure. Nice. Do you still teach English now?
no, I don't do tutoring either. My the fellow Yamashita, the fellow I was tutoring, he departed, or he will be departing this year from his contract. He does 2 years. He did 2 years in China, and then he did 2 years in the U.S. So I was tutoring him and helping him with presentations and stuff. So you know,
So, you were like working with a person from where?
Japan.
Japan. Okay.
Yeah, he's Japanese.
So he was like living in the US.
Yeah, yeah, he for
Oh,
2 years. Yeah, so he was in
okay.
China before the U.S. So they send him around. You know, he does like what do I want to say, optimization basically of plants. You know,
Mm-mm.
and the Japanese they like to be very hands on and have their own guy in there. But yeah, just helping him get acquainted with like speaking in English presentations and helping him with PowerPoints and stuff and just local suggestions about the area and things like that. So
Mm.
I
What
do
What do you think about my English?
it's good. Your English is good. Yeah, it's good. So nice
I
job.
also I guess like I also teach English,
Oh,
so
nice.
that's why my English is better than some other people. Yeah. Let's see.
Right on.
Mm. Let's talk about like mainstream stance on raw meat. So let me try to talk about how people usually view raw meat. So people usually just think it's wrong, like you can't do that.
Yep.
But if we actually want to talk about why we shouldn't do that, people are going to say things like, "Oh, there are some parasites, some bacteria on it, and if you eat that, you are going to be very miserable," something like that. So let's try to like dissect this step by step. First of all, do you think there are usually actually parasites and bacteria on raw meat?
Absolutely. Um, I've actually I've actually only seen parasites in cod fillets and monkfish. Um, and I've actually eaten the worms in
Hmm.
the cod. So
So, is it correct to say that parasites are usually perceivable by human eyes?
the parasites, yeah, I think a lot of them, but the parasite eggs you may not see. Which the thing is like our acidic digestive environment is strong enough to kill that stuff. So like I've never had any symptoms of a parasite infestation, and I've like I said I've eaten actual worms that were in fish, and I've never had a problem. It was kind of gross at first to do it, and I don't really eat too much cod anymore. But yeah, I've never seen a worm in like chicken or beef or anything like that. Just fish. So the bacteria, yeah, absolutely. Um, I actually have some behind me here. I don't know if you can see up here on the shelf up here, but this is it's a year, almost a year old. We cut up some liver and some lamb meat from the conference, and it's my responsibility to air that out and let it ferment and I'm bringing it back for the conference this year. So we have year-old meat. It's going to be a tradition. So, I've eaten this, and I've eaten 2-year-old high meat as well. So, it's just full of bacteria. The liver is basically just turned into soup. And yeah, I felt good eating it. It's electrifying to say.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's see. So right here, I have some raw meat. You think there are eggs and parasites on it?
No, I don't think there's parasites or parasite eggs in there. No.
Okay. Okay. So how do you figure that out?
Just my intuition.
Mm,
I mean, I can't really see it too well through the camera, but like I've got my swordfish right here,
oh,
and
okay.
I've never seen parasites in swordfish, even if it was fresh or frozen. Um,
Yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is that, like, people can also see that you can see stuff here, but people are going to think there are like little stuff here. So do you think that's true? Like, I mean, like, how do I? Do you think there are always definitely little stuff here?
Bacteria, yes.
Mhm.
Parasites, no, not necessarily.
Okay. Okay. I see. Mm. But like, if there are parasites, maybe you can see it.
Probably sometimes, yeah.
Mm.
I'm maybe there's parasites you can't see. I'm not a parasite expert,
Okay. Okay. I see.
um, but I've definitely seen worms
Hmm.
in fish, and I've eaten them, and I'm fine. So that's
Okay.
that's what I can say about that.
Yeah,
But
I wonder like what you saw. Could that be classified as parasites, or that was just
yeah,
you
absolutely.
said?
Those worms, yeah, those are what you'd call parasites for sure.
Okay. I see.
Hookworms or roundworms or yeah, worms are just in English,
Hmm.
a worm like that in a meat colloquially could be called a parasite. And
Okay.
it really kind of is. It'll feed off tissues and stuff
Mm.
generally. There is something called helminthic. I think that's how you pronounce it. Helminthic therapy. And Aajonus, he mentioned this, a doctor, Dr. Joel Weinstock. He would give people parasites to cure their IBS. Every 6 months, they would go to get parasite eggs. They would drink them with Gatorade, which would neutralize the stomach acid. So then the eggs could hatch in the stomach. And they would go back. And these people had really bad IBS. And they would go back every 6 months for these treatments. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's forums online where people will discuss and order different parasites for different ailments and what's called autoimmune disorders. I don't really think there's such thing as like an autoimmune disorder that the body is necessarily attacking itself for some genetic reason or variability. But that's people will buy these parasites and they'll treat their conditions with them. So it's
Okay.
interesting.
Mm. So I guess you said that right now some people try to get parasites to heal themselves.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I think we can talk about that later. But so we were talking about mainstream stance on raw meat, and we were talking about so like usually people say, oh, there are parasites, there are bacteria on this, so you can't eat this at all whatsoever. So I guess when it comes to bacteria, you agree with them. Like you agree that there are always going to be bacteria on raw meat, but when it comes to parasites, it's not always the case. That's your stance.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I might be
So
wrong.
okay, cool, cool. So if you were wrong, what do you think the direction would be?
Oh, geez. So what? I mean,
Um, what would be the truth?
I don't know. I don't know what the truth is. I mean, who knows? That's a lofty question, a lofty assumption. I mean, you could say there's parasites, there's not parasites. I'm inclined to think there's not because I don't have any, and I've been eating, probably over 1,000, well over 1,000 pounds of, well, it's probably almost several thousand pounds of raw meat by now. But yeah,
Okay. Is it noisy in my background?
no, you're good.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let's see. Yeah, so I guess yeah, your stance is that sometimes there are going to be parasites and bacteria, and let's see, but it's not like always, I guess, for you.
I don't think
What?
there's
What?
always parasites,
Okay, so
and
that's
I
like
don't think they're a
that's a part
problem.
that that's a part that we can talk about with mainstream people because for mainstream people they think this is always the case, so you
Yeah,
shouldn't.
when I
Okay.
brought a liver to a Halloween party, I thought that was pretty apropos because it was like, kind of spooky, kind of scary. I brought some liver and I brought some high meat. And my friends were like, I was like, you want to try some? You're an adventurous eater. He's like, oh, no, I don't want any. And no, I don't want to get parasites. I'm like, you're not
Hmm.
going to get parasites. And, one of my friends, he was dating or engaged to a woman from Kenya, and I was talking with her about it. She's like, "Oh, you're ready to come to Africa. You're not afraid of anything." I was like, "Yeah, maybe someday." But she wouldn't eat any, which whatever. I wasn't trying to force it on anybody. I just kind of brought it. But this was probably the first year, that first October of the first year when I started eating this stuff. And yeah, people thought I was crazy probably. And I would bring raw eggs like when we'd go out to restaurants or a bar just to have a weekly whatever. And I would bring my eggs people, I don't know. I think now raw meat is like almost mainstream. I mean, everybody's seen people do it. And eventually after so many years, people are going to say, well, like, why are these people getting healthier?
Mm.
Like in my life,
Hopefully.
yeah, in my life, like people around me have health problems and I don't. Or like if I
Mm.
do run into a problem, which is usually a detoxification, I know how to fix it and I fix it with not going to the doctor. So it's kind of like, well, geez, like, yeah, you kind of think my diet's weird, but like I'm pretty healthy and I'm not going to the doctor crying about this or that. And, so I mean, what does that tell you? Like, I don't know, maybe it's good.
Mm. Okay, let's see. So let's move on to the like second phase. So I mean like so mainstream idea is that this has bacteria and parasites, and therefore when you eat it, you're going to suffer big time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you think parasites are good. Like eating parasites is not only not bad but beneficial.
I think there's definitely some parasites that don't belong in the human body. I think that's very rare. I don't think that's going to happen from, I might sneeze. It's not. I don't think that's going to happen from eating um, meat. Um, I think, yeah, some people, I don't know if I would do it to deliberately take eggs of a parasite, but some people do it. And, you know, theoretically, the parasite is supposed to do its job. It feeds on the tissues that it feeds on. And then when those tissues are gone, the parasite dies. So the thing is, if you take parasite therapy, helminthic therapy, and you're eating raw meat, it will help regenerate your cells. So what the parasites are eating, your body will replace. But if people have parasites and they don't have good nutrition, then the parasite is their bodies are not going to be able to keep up. So it does become a bad thing. And like I said, there are cases in parasites that probably or most definitely don't belong in the human body and are going to be harmful. And, you know, I don't know specifically what those are, but there's always an exception to the rule. So I don't want to say like all parasites are good. It's like I said, I'm not a parasite expert. Some of it's a
Mm.
little out of my range of
Okay.
knowingness, but generally, eating this way, eating these foods, I don't think you have to be worried about it.
So you are saying that we are not going to get parasites from eating these raw food, or like maybe you can get some parasites, but it's good. What do you think
Yeah,
about?
I don't think you're going to get parasites from eating raw meat.
Oh, okay, I see. Interesting. Maybe it's because like our stomach acid will kill them,
Yeah, absolutely. And also
and
because I don't think there's a lot of parasites in most meats.
I see. Okay,
So,
cool, cool, cool. Hmm. So, in what situations do you think a piece of meat would have parasites, or like a human body would have parasites? Aside from the scenario you just talked about, like you drink some neutralizing thing and eat some eggs.
yeah, I think the intestines of pigs have a particular kind of parasites that you can get if you were to eat those. And probably, yeah. I mean, if you wanted those parasites, you would probably dilute your stomach acid just to be safe so they could take root. But if you didn't want the parasites, then you would just eat the intestine, which really not very appetizing or appealing to me personally. But I've heard of people doing this to get those parasites. So
Hmm. What are there some more like normal situations where people will get parasites? So it's not like they're purposefully trying to get it, but they get it.
there's a theory, hypothesis, rather maybe is a better description, that parasites will spawn in the body just organically to clean up tissues, refuse. I think, if I recall correctly, parasites like to feed off of um, advanced glycation end products and like carbohydrates and sugars. So, like if you're eating a lot of wheat or processed wheat and grains, those are the things the parasites really like. So, if you have those in your body, you might be more susceptible to parasites
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to you're just eating meat and that's not really something that they can thrive on. Because if you think about it, a lot of this stuff is digested very easily in your digestive tract. So by the time it gets to the parasites, like how much will they really have to eat? Whereas like fiber and grain and stuff, like it doesn't get fully digested, so there will be more for them to eat. Um, from my understanding.
Mm. Okay. So let me kind of summarize your stance on all this. You think usually they probably usually there's probably not parasites on a piece of raw meat,
Mm-hmm.
and when you do get when you do eat parasites, you are still not going to get parasites.
Generally, yeah, if you have a acidic environment, the
Mm-hmm.
parasites will die. They won't. Although I was one distinction may be the difference in freshwater and saltwater parasites. So the salinity of salt and freshwater are different. And for instance, if you were to eat fish from a stream or a lake, freshwater lake, those parasites will be different than the saltwater. So it might be different in relation to your stomach acid.
Okay.
They
Okay.
may or may not survive easier or not. I don't know for sure, but I was just talking to someone about this, a fisherman, and he was like, "Yeah, well, this is different, so you should keep that in mind."
Mhm.
So
Okay. Have you heard of deworm deworm drugs or like
yeah, like
deworming it?
ivermectin, yeah,
Oh, that's called. Can you say it again?
ivermectin. It's
Ivermectin.
yeah, it's a big thing now. It gained popularity during the pandemic. People were taking it for COVID, and I don't believe in taking that kind of stuff, obviously. But some people swear by it, and it's like a miracle drug. People take it like it's a dewormer, but people take it to combat viral symptoms. And I think even Mel Gibson was talking about it on Joe Rogan, that he knew people who were taking it for cancer, aggressive cancers. So yeah, people are taking this ivermectin and they're doing it. And I've seen people people will take turpentine and to flush out parasites, and kind of gross. But yeah, so there's a lot of deworming and anti-parasite stuff and parasite cleanses.
Mhm.
I don't really think those things are really good or necessary. I think people just need to fix their diets.
Okay. Yeah. So like when people see me, give me one sec. When people see me eating raw meat, they often ask me, "Do you take the warmer?" Um, so I guess your stance on that is you don't have parasites, so you don't need to try to deworm.
Yeah, I wouldn't even try to take a pharmaceutical, even if I needed to do. I would eat like an onion or something. Like there's natural ways you can get parasites out. And as a joke,
Uh,
when people ask me about eating raw meat, like, aren't you scared about something? And I said, yeah, I'm waiting for the worms to eat my brain. I just tell them that like in a very straight, nonchalant, like very serious tone. Like, yeah, I eat raw meat because I'm waiting for worms to eat my brain. Yeah, like I'm just waiting for them to kill me.
I
And
guess that's
some people they laugh, like they get it, like it's a joke. And then some people kind of look at me like, what's wrong with this guy? But
hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's a joke. Like I'm just playing off the fear too. Like I'm laughing in the face of danger, so to speak. I'm
I
like,
guess
yeah,
that can be pretty thought provoking in some cases.
yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. Did you know? So like, I guess in Korea, it's pretty common for people there to eat raw food. So
Uh-huh.
they often take dewormer after eating those raw food. For example, tourists. Did you know this? Mm. So I guess your stance on this is like you're not going to really get parasites. So why do you need to take that? And maybe that itself can just be bad for you.
Well, some people might, because like the way I'm eating is very different than like a lot of people eat. Because I do a little bit of timing with my meals. I space out things like vegetable juice and meat, and I don't drink a lot of milk when I'm eating meat. Maybe like half a cup. Like I've taken a few sips here and there. Um, but people who aren't on like this kind of diet or this way of eating, the primal diet, people will maybe eat raw foods, but they'll drink a lot, like alcohol or a lot of, I don't know, lemonade or just water. And that will dilute your stomach acid, which will prevent it from killing the parasites. So it could be possible that people could end up with worms, depending on how they're eating this food and what is in what they're eating.
Hmm. So I guess in your opinion, us um, to get parasites is either you eat some food with parasites and your stomach acid is not very acidic, or it's like your body generates it.
Yeah, I think those are probably the two most common ways you can get a parasite. There's also, um, if you walk barefoot through contaminated feces, sometimes you can get parasites that way. I forget. I don't know if that's hookworm,
Hmm.
but
But
that's
a lot of the times, like it's hard to know if those information is correct.
yeah. I mean, it could just be yeah, just like a hypothesis. Like, oh yeah, people are walking in this feces with their bare feet and they're getting parasites.
Hmm.
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know how they're traveling through the feet, but hey, I'm not an expert, like I said. So
Okay, okay. Let's see. Um, yeah, so like if you are interested in eating raw meat and you search online, you are going to see some scary news.
Yep.
So usually the story goes like, oh, someone he ate raw, let's say pork, and then he has a lot of parasites on his body.
Yep.
So it's just a story. So I guess, do you think like when it comes to those stories, the individual actually got parasites because of the food they ate? Let's say someone actually gets parasites, and the news says, oh, they get parasites because they ate this. Do you think that's true? What do you think about it?
Like I said before with the example in Korea, maybe they're diluting
uh
their stomach acid. Um, I really thought you were going to go in the direction of people dying from eating raw foods,
we can also
and
talk about that.
and I think a lot of that reason, like in America, I don't know how it is in Taiwan, but the third leading cause of death in hospitals is human error. So that's like the third most reason people die is because somebody makes a mistake in a hospital. So if someone is going to the hospital for food poisoning, think about what's happening. They're getting pumped full of a bunch of antibiotics, and they're deprived of foods, that may help them. They're in a very like claustrophobic environment, and then they end up dying. And it's a question of, are they dying because of the food, or are they dying because of the type of treatment they received, or because somebody made a mistake. So you know um, I think that's really important to keep in mind too. Also, the food poisoning aspect, there's a couple different variables. uh, Undercooked food is not raw food, right? If something is partially cooked, it means it's still heated. So the environment has changed. The bacteria that were there are now feeding on a different type of terrain. So the bacteria change, and this may cause adverse reactions in people. There's also the chance for contamination of chemicals. If you go to a restaurant, there's a lot of cleaning and sanitizing stuff, and maybe people are not communicating in the kitchen, and the meat gets contaminated with these chemicals, and that creates a bad reaction in somebody, and they go to the hospital thinking it was the food they ate, rather it's the chemicals. So now they're being treated with all these antibiotics, which isn't really what they need, because their problem isn't a problem of bacteria, it's a problem of contamination. So you have all those different types of variables, and that's what I see. When you read these articles, it's like, yeah, people died at the hospital. Is it because they went to the hospital? Maybe. I mean, you can't say for certain, but I think if I had like food poisoning or something, I would not go to the hospital. There's definitely been times where I've had a detoxification, and my family was worried about me, and they're like, I think you should go to the hospital. I had a temperature of 104.7 for 3 days straight, and they're like, you should go to the hospital. You should go to the hospital. I'm like, no, I'm not going. No way. I just took hot baths and sipped on cream, and drank some formulas, and I was fine. It went away. I didn't need to go to the hospital. And if I went to the hospital, who knows what they would have done to me? How much worse off would I would have been? I was fine at home. I was comfortable. So
Hmm. To me, it wouldn't make sense to let them do other things, because like it's not going to feel good.
right.
I mean, like it just doesn't make sense that that will help.
Yeah, I don't know how the laws are in Taiwan, but in some places, if you go into a hospital and you sign the consent form and you don't change it, you're basically giving them authority to do whatever they think is the best for you. So if you don't write any clauses or conditions in there, you're stuck there. They could have you sedated or something, because they could claim you're a danger to yourself or other people. So it's pretty scary. to go into a hospital like that. Not that I'm saying, if you need someone to save your life, like, yeah, by all means, go to a hospital. Some people need surgeries, whatever. But, personally for me, I would avoid a hospital as much as I can.
Hmm. Okay. What would you say are some situations that you would like to go to a hospital?
Like if I lost a finger or my hand, like if something got cut off, or if I had a serious um, puncture wound. Um, if I broke a bone, I would probably go to a chiropractor and have them set the bone and then dress it that way. I wouldn't go get a cast. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because there's a lot of hypotheticals. There's definitely some things that whenever you change in your environment or your diet, that you may have to have like mechanically fixed by a surgeon. Um, it's just the way it is for some
Hmm.
things. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I would exhaust every other option before I went that route for sure.
Okay. Let's see. So I guess like when it comes to raw meat danger part, you think it's possible to get sick from eating undercooked meat? Because but well, what about like so you mean like when you make a piece of meat undercooked, the raw part, the bacteria on it is going to eat the cooked part and create some bad things? Is that what you mean?
Well, the bacteria will also come onto the cooked foods as well. For instance, if you cook a piece of meat and you put it in the fridge, it goes bad. And if you ate it, you wouldn't feel good. But like I've got this raw meat sitting back here. It's been here for almost a year, and I could eat that and I would be fine. So, because the meat is still raw in its natural state, and the bacteria are consuming it, it hasn't been altered. That's fine. But the cooked meat is not good.
So you are saying that if a piece of cooked meat goes bad and you eat that, you can be poisoned.
It's gonna
That's
be
your stance.
yeah. I mean, maybe poison isn't the right word, but you're gonna have a bad time. It's
Oh,
not gonna be
interesting.
pleasant. So, I mean, you're at least probably gonna have like some diarrhea. You might throw up, and you might
Okay.
have a little bit of a fever. Like your body's just it's just not going to know what to do, and the bacteria are that are in your body now or there's a lot of mixed signals. So yeah,
Did you actually have this kind of experience before?
I've gotten sick from a restaurant. I was out for a birthday dinner at this fish market, terrible restaurant, and I remember it was sea bass. I ordered sea bass. It was like an Asian sea bass dish with rice, and it came out kind of like watery, and I was like, okay, and I ate it. I went home that night. I was throwing up, just
Oh,
just
so you think
vomiting, and I was bad. I was bad the next day too. And then I was fine, but I didn't go to the hospital. I was yeah.
the fish was like cooked and then sitting outside for a long time?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know if it could have been some chemicals. I don't know if it could have just been a bad piece of fish.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know.
But
I can't
basically,
say.
your stance is that a piece of cooked meat, if it's like going bad, don't eat it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. I mean,
What about
I don't think eating cooked meat is really the best either. I mean,
yeah?
personally, I would always go for raw. But like I said, if I was traveling, like I would indulge in some things. But when
Hmm.
I eat cooked foods, I don't feel good anyway. So,
Mm,
and
okay.
I haven't eaten cooked foods in 4 years now. I tried to have a Thanksgiving meal, um, American Thanksgiving meal. There's turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, biscuits, cranberry sauce, cornbread, um, those types of things. And I ate that. I wasn't sick per se, but I had very large, uncomfortable, dry bowel movements for 3 or 4 days, and I felt
Mm,
very full. I felt very groggy. I just felt uncomfortable, and I decided for myself, I was like, yeah, I think I've kind of reached a point where if I eat these cooked foods, I don't feel good. So I'm not going to do it. Although I do know some people who are on this diet for a very long time, decades even, and they'll cheat because they like to be social. Some people don't. Some people are very strict still after many years. But I was talking to one fellow, and he's like, "Yeah, you go out and have a piece of cheesecake and a steak or whatever, and I just go home and drink a gallon of raw milk, and I'm okay." And I'm like, that's, I don't really want to drink a gallon of raw milk every day just to eat cooked food, but you know, it works for some people like that, and they don't have those problems. So having the raw fats um, to balance out the cooked foods, or even having fermented vegetables, uh, I found that when I was eating cooked foods, sometimes having fermented vegetables like kimchi or something, or pickled radish with the food made the digestion better. Still, it wasn't like as good as it is with the raw foods, but it was more tolerable. So,
mm, okay. What do you think about a piece of raw meat that's like sitting outside and goes bad? Because like when you make high meat, you try to create a different environment. But what if it's just a piece of raw meat in normal environment?
it's fine. Um, the problem is that it's not going to have the enzymes because it dries out. So it's not going to be as palatable. You can put some honey on there to help replace some enzymes and give it a little taste, but a dried meat is not going to have as many benefits as like a raw, fresh piece of meat. And it won't really rot either. The jars of meat, they start to ferment because they're in a closed system. But with all the air, the meat just dries out and it loses the enzymes and
Okay.
the bacteria to some extent. So,
So high meat is like a better version of normal environment rotten meat.
um, yeah, because the bacteria pre-digest the food. So your
But
body,
isn't that also the case when it comes to like meat that's been sitting in a normal environment for a long time?
no, because the bacteria will not thrive on a piece of meat that has been sitting out because
Oh,
it just gets dry. It doesn't decompose like if it was in a jar.
okay, okay.
So
So
if
like,
like beef jerky,
mm-hmm.
so that's basically what happens when you leave raw meat out is they
Oh,
dehydrate it and it pulls out all the moisture. Pemmican is another example. It's a survival food that has been made throughout the ages where they take meat and they take fat and they might add like some blueberries or something and they just mush it all together and then they put it in squares and then they dry it out. They let it dry in the sun and it doesn't rot. It just stays, you know, it just dries out. And that's something they would eat when they don't have anything else to eat. It's a survival food.
hmm. But like when it comes to beef jerky, I think it usually tastes good. But if I put a piece of meat outside, it's going to smell bad.
After some days, it won't.
Ooh, okay.
It will
Interesting.
like it will lose its funk because it has the bacteria are what give it its smell. I've noticed this fermenting dairy, fermenting meats, that the temperature um, is really responsible for a lot of the flavor and the smell of the meat. Different bacteria work at different temperatures, so if you are letting a piece of meat just dry out in the air, um, the moisture's gone and the temperature is more variable. And of course, you have the sun as well, if it's in the sun, and it just dries out. And once it dries out, it loses its smell and its potency.
Hmm. Now you say that, I feel like it makes sense. I feel like if I imagine a piece of raw meat outside that becomes dry, maybe it's not going to smell like anything. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
after a few days, it will just be a piece of dry
Hmm.
stuff. And yeah,
Okay. But maybe you think that's not very optimal.
it's no, because it doesn't have the enzymes.
Hmm.
If you want to read more about enzymes, if you or anybody watching this, Dr. Howell wrote a book called Enzyme Nutrition. It's in Aajonus's bibliography. It's one of the books he based a lot of his work on. And the premise of this book is that humans only have a set amount of enzymes. And the enzymes in our body are what give us energy. So when we're eating raw foods, we're eating foods that have all of their enzymes. When we eat that, it's better for our bodies and we actually can maybe even gain a little bit of energy. But if we're eating cooked foods or processed foods, these foods that don't have enzymes or have been altered in some way, then our body has to do more work to decode those nutrients, and our body actually has to produce enzymes to utilize them and break them down and use them in the body. So, um, yeah, it's a detriment to do that.
Hmm.
Price Pottinger Foundation, they're even on record through their studies that humans should have at least 50% of all the meat we eat should be raw for good health.
Hmm.
And that's like a normal healthy person not living in our modernized industrialized toxic society. So you could even argue that, yeah, if you're growing up now in a metro area in the city, you would need more raw meats to have a better level of health.
Okay. Well, let's see. Yeah. Um. Do you still have time?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Let's see. Yeah. So, I guess if you have a piece of a cooked meat that is like bad, you're not going to eat it. But if it's a piece of raw meat that's bad, you will eat it. I'm not talking about high meat. It's just sitting outside meat.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't eat it because that's just not something I would do. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if I had to, yeah, obviously I'm going to take the piece of dried raw meat over making a fire to cook meat. Um, so yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but it definitely, because what happens is the heat what do I want to say, it destroys the proteins and the nutrition. Anytime you apply like heat is radiation. Like, you know, there's a lot of talk about how, well, not talk, just the reality. Radiation is bad for us because it's radiation because it destroys cells. Well, guess what? Heat and fire are also radiation that will destroy cells. So if fire is cooking food, it's destroying the cells and destroying the nutrients. Um, Drying the food isn't really destroying too many of the nutrients. The water soluble nutrients will likely be affected because it's being dried, the water is leaving the meat. But the fat soluble nutrients will likely not be affected too much. It's more so the enzymes. But then it comes back to the enzyme nutrition question of, if you're eating something that doesn't have enzymes, your body has to use its own enzymes to use that food.
Hmm. Can you talk a little bit about your digestion? So I think many people like to say their digestion is good on raw food diet.
Yeah, so for me personally, I've never had too many digestion problems. Um, I can't think of my life. I mean, sure, there's been times I've been constipated or whatever, but I haven't had IBS, I guess is what you would call it. But I've known people on a raw diet and they had problems with their digestion. Maybe they weren't eating enough fat. Maybe they needed more fermented dairy. Maybe they needed more fermented meats. For me, I feel like my digestion has been pretty good, but perhaps breaking and processing fats was not so good at first. I used to eat a lot of liver, like a lot of liver, 3 to 5 pounds every week. And I noticed that I wasn't gaining weight the first 2 years I was on the diet. I always had a problem gaining weight in general, no matter what or when or how I was eating. Um, but after a few years of eating this way, I feel like my liver was starting to work better and I was able to process fats better because I started to gain weight. Um, so I hit 180 pounds. What was that? 2.5 years ago? No, 3.5 years ago. In my like third year, I started to really like put on and hold weight. And when I exercise, I'll have eggs and they digest very quickly. I don't feel full. I haven't thrown up from doing physical activity on a full stomach or eating things. I have a sport formula I'll make, which I have a couple variations of that on my YouTube channel, um, which is good to drink because it's carbohydrates and protein and fat and energy, and it's a drink. It's a liquid, combination of fruits and eggs and cream and uh, some citrus juices, things like that. Um, Milk is good. Eating a little bit of raw meat is fine, not too much, but yeah, it all digests very easily, very quickly. I don't have any discomfort. I don't have any um, problems. I have gas sometimes. I generally have the most gas when I'm drinking vegetable juice and I'm not eating any cheese. But that's just, I think, a detoxification process. My gut, like most people, is polluted. Um, Eating the cheese, raw, no salt cheese, has been very helpful for indigestion. Um, I am not getting a lot of indigestion recently, which is interesting. It's something that I used to struggle with because I would get, I guess, what people might call heartburn, indigestion, or like a very uncomfortable, gassy feeling in the stomach. And eating the cheese makes it go away in like 5 minutes. But after eating enough of that cheese throughout the day, every day, I have less of that junk in my stomach. It's not causing me those problems. So um, just doing the diet and having that cheese has really made my indigestion recede a lot. So I'm pretty happy with my digestion and everything. Some people say don't drink milk if you're eating raw meat or water. Aajonus has said you could have half a cup of liquids when you're eating meat. It's not really a big deal. But if you're going to drink more than that, it's going to dilute your acids in your stomach. So it's going to impact the ability for that to break down the meat. Um, if you have fermented dairy and you're pateing your meats, which is like you blend it in a food processor, you'll digest it like very easy. I notice I'll sleep less and feel more rested when I pate my meats, as opposed to just eating them, whole like this. When I grind them up into a paste and I eat them, it's like so easy. It digests so easy.
Mm. Okay. Do you eat chicken now?
Yeah, I eat I eat a third of each kind of a meat. So I eat a third beef, a third chicken, and a third fish.
Oh,
Generally, mostly during my weight loss, I've been trying to eat beef. So I've been eating right now a quarter pound of meat a day only. Usually I'll eat a pound or two. Um, and I've been doing the beef because the red meat's very important. The chicken is also good too for different things in the body: tendons, joints, ligaments, cartilage, connective tissue.
yeah.
Um,
I was going to ask you, um, do you eat do you eat do you eat chicken do you eat chicken meat with skin? Because I've tried eating raw chicken with skin before, and it's super tough. I guess that's the case for every animal. The skin part is so tough. So do you eat the skin part of animals?
no, I don't. I don't think the humans can digest the skins very well. I know some people who do eat the skins, um, but I don't. I don't. I get boneless, skinless breast sometimes, or I will break down the split halves and give that to dogs um, as a treat. They like that. But yeah, the skin is not really worth the effort. I just kind of eat the meat. Or like chicken legs, they have the tendons on them. Those are good to eat as well.
Do you think cooked skin is more ideal? Because like when it comes to how I feel, I think raw skin is so tough. I don't like it. But when it comes to cooked skin, I think it's pretty soft, pretty enjoyable. So what's your thought on that?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I don't eat cooked foods. If you're going to cook something, you're removing some nutrition and the enzymes. So, I mean, if you like eating cooked skin, I mean, that's great. I mean, I think it's a lot easier and more enjoyable to eat cooked skin than, raw, flabby skin. Um, so, I mean, if you like eating cooked skin, then I think that's fine.
Hmm. What if I try to tell you that it's more ideal to eat cooked skin because of what I just said? What would you say back?
Um, I think maybe ideal in terms of practicality, sure, but for me, it's an issue of just the cooking, the process of the cooking, and what that does to the nutrients of the skin and things like that. So
So you think raw skin is healthier, but it's just hard to eat?
yeah, I mean, absolutely, raw foods have the nutrition and the enzymes. Cooked food doesn't really have those 100%. So um, yeah, in terms of practicality and being able to eat something, yeah, like the skin's a no. I wouldn't try to do that. Like I said, some people do. It's not for me. Um, but if you're on a blended diet and you want to eat skin and you want to cook skin, I mean, then yeah, that's a way to eat it.
Hmm. How do you usually get fat? Because I feel like I don't know. Like when it comes to raw meat, a lot of the times the fat part is hard to chew. Maybe it's because it's connected with the tendon or something.
Yeah. What I
I
do
guess.
is
Mm,
I get the trimmings from the butcher and I will get a blender and then I leave the fat out for a good 4 to 5 hours so it gets room temperature. And then I cut up pineapple and I blend the fat with the pineapple and I make a paste. So there's a video, a tutorial I have on my YouTube where I take goat fat and pineapple and I blend it together and it makes a nice paste. So it tastes better. It's really good to eat with the meat because it tastes like pineapple, um, but you're still getting the fat. So and it stays fresh for like 2 weeks. So it's a convenient way to get in animal fat.
that sounds pretty delicious.
Yeah, I really like eating it with, I mean, pretty much any kind of meat because it really just has that pineapple taste. Um, and you can adjust, how much fat versus pineapple, that ratio. If you want it a little more fatty or a little more fruity, you can adjust it to your taste.
Hmm. I just came out with a question. So you've
Okay.
come to Taiwan before. If you were here right now and you had to eat your type of diet right now in Taiwan, how would you go about it?
Well, I know that in is it Hualien in the eastern. I was reading an article about milk in Taiwan, and there's a lot of dairies in the eastern part of Taiwan, and I might want to go there and see if I can get some raw milk. Um, I would just ask around for butcher shops, and I would just go to butcher shops and use my Google Translate and just ask or point what I want, and I get a lot of drink a lot of sugarcane juice if I could find some um, to replace celery juice. I love sugarcane juice; it's so good. Um, but I would basically just do that. I would get my eggs, my sugarcane juice, and my meat, and I would be all set for the raw diet. And of course, I would find jiao bao and some beef noodle soup, and I would probably you know throw back a few drinks with some people. I don't know. I think my cigarette smoking days are behind me, but if I'm going somewhere to enjoy myself, I would you know I'm not I don't make this. I mean, I make this my life to an extent, but I try not to like let it define me. Like I'm what I eat. I'm my diet. I think people, they lose sight of that. It's like, you're just a person. You're not a diet. It's not who you are. And like, I don't really care what people eat. People are going to eat what they're going to eat, and I'm going to eat what I'm going to eat. And right now, like for me, I'm in a routine, and it makes sense for me. It's comfortable for me to eat this way. I already know that it's not comfortable for me to have a cheat meal and eat cooked food because that's when I run into digestive issues. But if I was in like Taiwan, I would probably make exceptions, and maybe it would make me feel really bad and ruin my trip for a day or two. And if that's the case, then I wouldn't eat like that. It's that simple. I would just eat the best I could, and find the foods that I need. So that's how I feel about it.
Hmm. I guess you were talking about a trip scenario, but I'm talking about if you actually live here.
Oh yeah, well, like I said, that's what I would
So,
do. I would,
so
you
you would
know,
eat xiaolongbao sometimes, or just like
probably,
one time?
probably, probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to answer that now because I'm not there. And if I would to think, even going to Taiwan to live the rest of my life or for a trip, I can't help but think I'd be tempted by eating some xiaolongbao. I mean, even just to try to see what would happen. I don't know. That food,
Oh,
it's just so good.
interesting.
But there's also a psychological component to like these foods, these cooked foods, these cravings. It's There's a fruit snack in the United States. It's called fruit roll-ups, and fruit by the foot. It's just it's like a piece of fruit on plastic, and it rolls up, and you unroll it. And every time I think about that fruit snack, even 20 years later, my mouth waters almost uncontrollably. So like that's kind of messed up that there's a food like that that does that to you after 20 years. Um, but yeah, I definitely think there's a psychological component of food as well, and it's tied to memories and sensations. So yeah, I mean, for me to say that now, if I were to go live in Taiwan, like yeah, I mean, I would probably try some xiaolongbao, and I don't know. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, as long as you're eating 80%, 90% raw foods, you're in pretty good shape.
Hmm.
Um, of course, I don't know. Like, if I wasn't living in the eastern part of Taiwan, I wouldn't be getting my raw milk. And for me, raw milk and honey satisfies and satiates a lot of cravings for me. And like it can do that for like a lot of people. So without that, um, it might be easier to be tempted by those things. But like I said, sugarcane juice, meat fat, meat. I try to eat more fish and shellfish, like scallops and stuff. Um, I would be low on fruit. I don't eat a lot of fruit. I don't really like eating a lot of fruit. Um, yeah, raw meats
Hmm.
and animal fats are the pillars of the raw diet. So if I'm drinking enough sugarcane juice to create an appetite for those things, I really wouldn't have a problem.
Hmm. If you live in Taiwan, would you really want local meat, or if you live in Taiwan, you would accept meat from other places?
I
Because
like,
like I guess it's not too easy to find local meat as far as I know. Maybe
yeah.
you can have some nice tips or some nice insights, but that's what I think.
Well, I know Taiwan's a small island, so I think its capacity for cattle and beef and dairy are limited. I think pork and chicken are definitely more popular. I don't think there's a lot of goat or sheep in Taiwan either. Um, but yeah, fish. There's obviously fish. So I mean, I would probably just stick with pork and chicken mostly, and um, local beef if I could find it. If it wasn't local, it's not the end of the world. I'm lucky where I live because I live in an agricultural state, and I just have a lot of options around me. I'm not opposed to eating meat that isn't local. Like I just eat local meat because I know they're raised without medications, injections. They're mostly on grass. They have some grain, but they're on pasture. And the meat is I like the people, and the meat's a good price. But I would eat meat from the supermarket if I had to, which isn't necessarily local. So yeah.
Hmm. And you mentioned that you would try to find a butcher. Like, why do you want to go for this route? What's good about getting a butcher?
Well, when I say butcher, I mean anyone that sells meat. So it could
Hmm.
be a market,
Oh,
like
I
the night
see.
market where they have meat. It's a meat stand. It doesn't have to be a shop per se.
Hmm. Okay. But I guess you often try to discuss with the meat seller because like how people usually buy meat is that they just buy what they sell. But
Yep.
do you try to like discuss with what you can get?
No, I wouldn't be picky. I'm not a picky eater when it comes to meat. I would just point to what I want. Like I said, I'm probably going to be pork or chicken. So I would just say, oh, I want this. And how
Oh,
much is it? So, and I
okay.
would take a chicken home, and I would take, pork chops home, and then I would um, probably get something to keep them in, like a ceramic or a glass dish. You know, that's what I do now. Or I have jars, and I'll keep in the fridge. Um, a ball jar, by the way. So this is a half gallon. Um, it's 2 quarts. So 1 quart is 4 cups. It holds about 2 pounds of meat. So this could hold 4 pounds of meat, or 4 pounds of, like, probably butter or something. So yeah,
Hmm.
but yeah, storing stuff in glass and ceramics in the fridge, and but Taiwan is a little more. I don't know when the schedule of the markets are and stuff, but I feel like I could be a little bit more day to day with my food. I go shopping once a week here, and I
Hmm.
do all my shopping, and I'm done. But Taiwan might be a little different, which I mean is fine. You know,
But I guess you mentioned that you get fat trimmings. That's
Yeah.
not things they usually sell, right? So you try to like ask for that.
Yeah. I mean, if there's pork, if they have pork, they definitely have fat to spare.
Oh,
I
okay.
would, I
So,
would, I would assume because they're not selling. Because I mean, if you're selling pork, you're selling any animal, you're going to maximize how much you can sell so you can make money. So if they're like, I want this fat trimmings, give me extra fat from the pork. The guy's not going to say no. I mean, he will, but maybe he wants to make money. And if people aren't buying it, it's going to be cheap because it's not something they sell normally. So
so like, so is it correct to say that butchers usually just like trim out fat and don't sell it?
no, they do. That's where I buy the meat. Yeah, or the
Oh,
fat.
oh,
Yeah, they'll seal it
okay.
up and then they'll sell. Because some people buy the fat and they render it down, or they fry with it, or they cook with it.
Mm, I
So
see.
that's very common here in America. At least we don't use. Well, there a lot of people use oils, especially in processed foods, but people are getting away from that now and going back to animal fats, tallow
Hmm.
and lard.
Okay. So I guess like when you want to get meat, you just go to a place that sells meat and see what they have to offer. You don't try to like ask if they have certain things that are not showing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not like I'm looking for anything too specialty, and I'm not too picky. Here in
Okay.
America, you can pretty much go to any supermarket and get any cut of beef you want, pork and chicken. So maybe it's a little
What's
different in Taiwan, but I'm not, it is what it is.
what's your thought on um, locality of food?
I think it's
Because like
good.
some people think something like, oh, if you eat something that's from other places, it's going to confuse your body. I wonder what you think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really big concern. Um, I think I think that falls under the assumption that humans have been not advanced. I don't really think that history is everything we're told. And I think humans have been a lot more nomadic than we give them credit. And I think there's probably um, lost history. I mean, like I personally don't really believe in evolution. I don't think humans came from monkeys. I think the truth may be far more simple and ridiculous than we might think. Um, but I don't have problems. Like when I eat a mango, I don't feel bad. I don't get sick. Um, there's certain formulas that I'll make where I don't have, like coconuts, like coconut cream. Coconut cream is great. And when I can get it, I do. And when I eat it, I feel great. But it doesn't make me ill. It doesn't affect
Hmm.
my health in some way. I don't think it confuses my body. Um,
So I guess you don't care too much about where the food comes from when it comes to the location,
I mean, to a point, like I like supporting local farms and businesses.
but it's not for your health.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, sometimes local food is better because it's raised better because it's local. It's not from like a supermarket. So in that respect, yeah, it is better. But is eating a mango going to confuse my body and make me sick? No. Is eating coconut cream going to no? I don't think so. I
Okay, I
think
kind of get your stance now.
yeah, I think the body might need certain things, and if it's not in your locality, whatever. Because there's like some places, like in the middle of winter in like Maine, it's like, okay, what are you going to eat in the middle of winter in Maine, where nothing's growing? No, it's like you have chickens, and what are they eating? Are they eating local? No. So you eat their eggs. So you eat their eggs, and like what meat do you have? You no vegetables, no nothing. Maybe you have apples or root vegetables stored in your cellar. Okay, well those are local, but they're out of season now. So it's like where and then what is local? Like how many miles is local? You know, like if your argument is, yeah, we need to eat what's local, and it's like okay, well, 300 years ago, you wouldn't travel more than 5 miles. So is everything outside of a 5-10 mile radius not local, or is that what growing zone you're in? I mean, what's the where's the line? It just seems really silly.
Hmm. Okay. Let's see. So like right now, do you cheat sometimes?
No,
But I think you mentioned you have not eaten cooked food for 4 years already.
yeah.
Like not at all. What the?
Uh, so I ate a piece of bread. It was like this. It was like this big. It was just a little slice of bread. It was on my YouTube channel,
Why did
and
you want to break your streak?
well, it was. I've been going to this Russian market to buy buxiban water. It's a type of sparkling water, and these Russian ladies they just baked this bread. It smelled really good. I bought some for my family, for them mostly. But then I took just a slice because I had some really good butter. So I wanted to eat, like a butter sandwich. And I just ate this one piece of bread and it made me so full. Um, the other thing, yeah, I am going to cheat in the future. Well, it's not cheating. So there's a recipe for pasta in the book We Want to Live. And I'm picking up a bunch of butter. So I'm going to make the pasta recipe with butter, tomato, some spices, an onion, and I'm going to get some meat, some ground meat. And then I'm going to make the pasta with the butter and tomato sauce. And then I'm going to add the raw meat to it. And I'm going to, mix that all together and eat it. I haven't had pasta in years. It's been years, like 5, 6 years.
So like the recipe you were talking about was just the sauce, but you want to add that to pasta
Yeah. So
someday.
it's in the book We Want to Live, as a recipe for, I don't know, it's not something I suffer from, but it's a primal pasta recipe.
Hmm.
Um,
I see.
in
You just want
the
to try that.
Yeah, in the primal diet, there's some needs for cooked starches, which can help bind hormones, stress hormones, anxiety, anger, stuff like that. Not that I don't have those problems, but that's something that people can use that for, that cooked starch with an equal amount of raw fat. So the raw fats help mitigate the advanced glycation end products from cooked starches. Um, so that's the idea there. It's a little treat, something a little fun,
Hmm.
something I
Okay.
might try to give my family
Hmm.
as well,
So,
share with them.
did you say that at, did you say after you eat the little piece of bread, you felt very full?
Yeah, I felt like
Ooh.
full. My stomach was heavy because I hadn't had these grains in years, so it was interesting.
When was
Um,
that?
that was probably last year, last
Oh.
December. So that would have been like 2023 December, probably.
So you have not eaten cooked food for 4 years straight, except for the piece of bread.
Yeah, I mean, I
Mm.
really wouldn't call a piece of bread, like cooked foods. I mean, yeah, it's bread, it's cooked food,
Hmm.
but in terms of like a meal, like no, I haven't had a meal, a cooked meal in over 4 years, probably.
Okay, nice. Do you think it's hard to stay on this kind of diet?
No, it's really easy for me because I'm lazy and I don't really care about too much variety. Even when I used to cook my food, I was very plain and repetitive with what I ate. Like I mentioned, like I used to eat like rice, vegetable, and meat, and hard boiled eggs. and then I would have I would eat a lot of ice cream or something for dessert. And that's what I would eat pretty much every day. Sometimes I would I might get a pizza or a chili dog or something, but I was pretty consistent with what I ate. So having to not clean and having to not cook and then being able to eat this food that's really easy. I suck an egg down in 2 seconds. When I used to cook eggs, it took me 15, 20 minutes for 2 eggs. Now it takes me 2 seconds. So it's not even a contest. And it just digests better. It gives you more energy. It's yeah, it's like I said, it's not worth it to do that stuff. I'm interested to see how the pasta is going to make me feel. Um, I think if I eat enough raw fats, I'll be okay. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Hmm. Okay. I guess like when I say, do you think it's easy? I'm talking about let's
Socially,
see. Yeah, things like that, or like if you have like cravings to eat junk food.
so when I've been doing my weight loss, I've had cravings. I wrote a tweet about all the things I was craving, all the cooked foods I missed. But that's just because I was pretty hungry and I was just drinking vegetable juice and eating eggs. Um, but socially, yeah, I mean, I've always been kind of a weirdo, and I've just gotten used to not I just don't really care what people say. I think most people are just kind of silly, so I just kind of ignore them. I've always kind of been ahead of the curve on things. When I was just a kid, I was 10, 11 years old, and I was listening to Daft Punk, and people were like, "Oh, that's weird. That's not cool." But fast forward 15, 14 years later, Daft Punk are one of the biggest. They're everywhere. They're very popular. So I feel like this is the raw meat is it's gonna get there eventually. In
Hmm.
10, 15 years, people are gonna get that.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's hard to change people.
Yeah, it absolutely is hard to change people. Like I said, people
Yeah.
are usually not willing to try something unless they've
Let
hit.
me ask this: like,
Uh,
what does your family eat? If you have a partner, you can also talk about that.
yeah, no, I'm single. I don't really have any riz. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not really looking for someone. Um, maybe someday. I'm not particularly uh, picky about what they eat, as long as they're healthy and they don't have a problem with how I eat. Obviously, I don't. Like I said, I don't make this diet like everything. Um, my family, they just eat normal food. Um, I try to get I try to get them to eat, better. Not that they eat bad. They'll eat some processed foods, but I always try to explain to them hey, don't do that. You should try to do this or do that, make this. And I provide raw dairy, they'll do the raw dairy, some of them, and raw eggs, some of them, and steak tartare, oysters, stuff like that.
Do you live with them now?
No.
Hmm. Okay. I see. I see. What do they think about the way you eat?
Um, some of them think I'm crazy, and some of them think it's well, fine, whatever you want to do. It's obviously working. So, you know, um, yeah, I used to live with uh, my dad. He had open heart surgery, and I would give him raw meals and stuff after his surgery to help him with his health. So,
He was okay with eating that.
yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, when people have an event that kind of puts them in a very, I don't want to say vulnerable or rock bottom, but kind of their life's in danger. Like when you have open heart surgery, you're dead for 5 hours on the table. So my dad kind of thought, oh well, maybe I should try this because I've been doing it for a year at that point, and I was getting better, and he was doing it, and he was feeling better. He doesn't do it so much anymore, though. But I give him. I'll drop off some raw milk for him every week, and he'll drink it. So
So your dad is okay with eating raw meat. What about other family members?
yeah, no one really. So
Oh, just your dad.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, and what would you say is the reason that he's not eating a diet that's close to a raw diet?
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. So people just are set in their ways.
Hmm. So would you say he eats pretty normally now?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely eats better than he used to.
Oh, okay. Maybe just less junk food, but he still eats like just normal cooked food, meat,
Yeah.
vegetables, rice.
Uh huh.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, let's. How much would you say you spend on your food each month?
Anywhere between $600 and $800.
Is that expensive for someone that lives in the U.S.?
Um, for real food, maybe a little bit. Um, let's see here. I spend $26 a week on dairy. I spend anywhere from $15 to $40 a week on eggs. I spend 50 to maybe $100 on meat a week. Um, vegetable juice, if I'm making it, $20 or so. Um, oysters is like $30 a week. Um, I get my produce for free in the summer from for the farmers market I work for, so that helps. But yeah, that's like what 400, 620, 7. Yeah, so it's probably like 780, 760 on average. Oh, cheese for like 173 divided by 3 is what is that? 8, not 8. 6? Yeah, 60. So yeah, about 820. 820 a month on average. So I mean that's a little high, but I look at it as an investment because I'm eating healthy now, and I'm also voting with my dollars. I think voting is kind of a scam. So I'm using my money to support local farms and businesses instead of going to Kroger or Giant Eagle, the big supermarkets, and giving my money to people who will use that money to pay politicians to, make my life worse.
Mm,
So,
okay. Let's see. Were you nearsighted at any point in your life?
no, these are
Okay.
just blue light glasses. Oof.
Ooh, looking sharp without the glasses.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I look good all the time. Glasses, no glasses, long hair, short hair. So, thank
Okay.
you.
Let's see. Did you used to have long hair?
Yeah, I had
Oh.
hair about as long as you.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay. Why did you want to cut your hair? Any reasons?
because it's too much work. I'm lazy.
Okay.
I haven't. I just cut my own hair. I haven't gone to the barber in years. It's too
And why do
expensive.
you want to have beard?
Like I said, because I'm lazy.
Oh.
I also don't like shaving. I'm I'm not as sensitive as I used to be because I've kind of healed my nerves and everything. But I didn't like the feel of a clean shaven face. The softness of it was not was it just kind of bothered me. And I'm like I'm very like I'm always like thinking or like this. And a beard for me is just comfortable. It's not itchy, and I can grow a really nice beard as well, so that helps.
So I guess you usually just let it grow.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
especially in the winter. I'll
Oh,
probably
nice.
trim it again next week.
Do you have any insights when it comes to improving eye health?
Yeah. So we wrote an article about this on primaldietcoaching.com under our blogs. It's all about eye health and basically, taking breaks from your screen, doing eye exercises. So like closing your eyes and then like do eye circles one way and then the other way. So basically you're just looking with your eyes closed to like the left side and then up and around and then going backwards, doing those, putting your thumb out, focusing on your thumb, and then focusing on something else in the room and going back to your thumb and just training your eyes and using your eyes because it's really the muscles in your eyes that activate your vision really. I mean, of course, your iris and your pupil that accepts the light is all very important too, but it all else has to do with the musculature behind your eyes. So very important to exercise your eyes and do that, to go stare on long distances, to get plenty of sunlight. I've been doing the blue light blockers starting today. I'm going to see a difference that makes. My vision got better and then it got worse because I'm reading too much manga on my phone. Um, and so, yeah, so I've got these. Another thing you can do is take the egg whites and put them in your eye. And the egg whites in the eye will help give nutrients to this part of the body, and it will help it'll help protect them and make them stronger. You can also take no salt raw butter and put it in your eyes just a little bit before you go to bed, or if you take a hot bath. I know an RN, she does that, and she also bought an eye bath. So it's like a plastic cone, and it has a cup for your eye, and she puts the egg whites in there, and she'll wear the eye bath, and so like her eyes are just bathing in the egg whites with this device.
Who are you talking about?
A lady named Marcia. She's
Oh,
a
okay.
RN. She's been eating a
What's
raw
RN?
diet. A registered nurse,
Okay, cool.
or maybe she's what is it? It's an RN. There's like a level above that. I forget. Anyway, a nurse practitioner, and
Okay.
she's been on a diet for over 20 years. She's been on a raw diet for over 20 years, so she
Hmm.
knows a lot of really cool tricks like that.
Do you know her in person?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see. So like when it comes to the tips you just talked about, um, have people actually used them to improve their eyesight? Or you are talking
Mm-hmm.
from like a theoretical standpoint?
Yep.
Which one?
All of them.
I mean, like, was it just theory or like people have done it?
Yeah. All of the people. Those are all methods, tested methods to help your eyesight.
Mm, okay. Like people have tried those things and
Yep.
improve their eyesight. I
Yep.
see.
Yeah.
Anything else?
For eyes, eating beef and butter,
Mm,
raw beef and raw no salt butter.
let's see. Oh, let's talk a little bit about high meat and have you made high eggs before?
Yeah, and they're awful. I can't eat. I can't
They're
eat high
awful.
eggs. Yeah,
Ooh.
I think they are. I know some people who love them and eat them, but I can't. It makes me vomit.
Mm.
I can't do
Is it
it.
because of the taste?
Yeah,
Ooh, but so it tastes different from high meat.
yeah. It does.
Ooh,
I only like liver. Liver's the only meat I like that's rotten, that's
oh,
fermented, that I like. It has a very, it tastes like a cheese. Um, but if you ferment like heart or just muscle meat, it just smells and tastes really bad. I don't like it at all. So I don't
so
eat
you
it.
have so you have tried different high meat variations before, but right now you
Yeah.
stick to liver variation.
Yeah. Tried
Mm.
chicken and fish and heart and muscle meat. Yeah,
But
liver's the
only liver
best.
now.
That's pretty much the only kind I've done consistently. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I rarely see people doing high eggs, but last time I saw one person doing it, so I thought it was
So
pretty
bad. Yeah,
so bad.
there's
Really?
like a high egg where the egg dries out, kind of, and I've heard that's okay, but um, really like rotten eggs, which is where like you get an egg and it's bad because all it takes is for that seal to break, just like we were talking about with the teeth and sucking the egg out. It just takes a small fracture to break the egg for air to come in, and then like the egg, it gets black and green, and it just gets nasty. I've um, sucking an egg actually. I've sucked a rotten egg into my mouth before, and I threw up because it was so bad. It's always smart to smell the egg. I've gotten lazy about it. Like I'll make the hole and I'll make the other hole and I'll suck it down. But usually I will make a hole and I'll smell the egg before I eat it. So then I know for sure it's not rotten. But I've gotten lazy about that, so I know that I'm probably bound to swallow a rotten egg sometime soon. Because I'll just do it, and before you know it, I'll just have a rotten egg in my mouth and I'll just vomit everywhere. It's bad.
So I guess you don't think that's bad, but you don't like it.
Yeah, it's. I think it's healthy, and there are people who eat rotten eggs. They like it, but I just can't do it. No,
Mm.
thank you.
I have eaten that kind of egg a couple of times. Yeah. So the rotten eggs you are referring to are just eggs that are bad when
Yeah.
you eat from here, right?
Hmm.
But I guess high eggs are different. Like they try to open it first.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's kind of the same. It's a different variation because the
Oh.
one has more air and the yolk becomes more um, like soft, like it becomes like a, I don't know, almost not chewy, but it becomes like semi hard. But this, the rotten eggs, it just ferments. It's yeah, it's rough.
Mm, okay. Okay. So let me try to like double check with you. So if you buy an egg and it's like intact,
Uh
and
huh.
you put it out for a very long time, and when you open it, it smells bad. You think that's good, but you don't like it.
Yeah, and you wouldn't even have to just let it sit out. You could take a spoon and just knock it, like just tap it real quick, or tap it on the table just to get a little fracture, and that will make it age faster or
Hmm.
ferment faster instead of just letting an egg sit. Because a fresh egg is good for 3 to 4 months on the counter.
Mm, okay. So you would say that's a kind of high egg.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. And yeah, how do you usually make your high liver?
I got a jar right here. I just put it in a jar. I cut it up and I put it in a jar. You leave half the jar for air, and as you can see, I don't. You probably didn't hear that,
Yeah, I
but
did.
okay, yeah, that hiss. The gases build up. So this lid, it's not. It's like it doesn't have any give on it because the pressure build up. I need to air it out. So I air it out every 3 to 4 days, sometimes a week. Just depends
Oh,
how I'm
so like
feeling.
sometimes you need to open the jar
Yeah, you need to because it
will explode.
progresses. No, it won't explode. Well, I've had lids pop off when I open it. It makes a pop, um, but it takes the bacteria through a progression of stages. So adding the air gives the bacteria fuel to break down the liver. If you just put the liver in a jar, it won't break down if you don't air it out. So you need to feed the bacteria with air every once in a while.
So the main reason that you open the jar is to put air inside the jar.
Yeah, you definitely want to open it outside. Don't do it in your house. because it'll get stinky.
Oh, and why do you want to eat high liver?
Because it's a pre-digested food. There's actually other vitamins and minerals that I would say, I guess, appear, for lack of a better word, in the meat once the bacteria break it down as a process. I think like vitamin K2, like variations of vitamin K, become more prevalent through the fermentation process. Um, and it pre-digests the meat, so when you eat it, it's already broken down, and your body can like fully utilize it.
Can you talk about how you actually feel when you eat it? So the taste, the feeling it gives you, things like those.
Yeah. So the only time I really felt something was I brought it to a food network safety meeting in my area. Some guys wanted to try it, so I brought some, and it was a really good batch because we ate it and we all felt like energized from it. And they're like, this isn't a placebo. We actually feel something. And I said, yeah, I feel it too. Usually I don't feel anything. Um, Sometimes people feel something, sometimes they don't. It depends on how much bacteria they have in their gut. If they don't have it, they're going to feel something because they're introducing more bacteria. So it just depends.
Okay. So I guess for those who don't usually eat that, they're going to be more likely to feel good.
Probably.
Uh-huh. I see, I
Not
see.
necessarily, but probably.
Okay. So I guess the reason you eat that, I guess like the reason you eat this kind of food in your diet now is like mm, kind of like you want to. It's not like it actually gives you some strong feeling.
Right.
Mm.
It might. I
Kind of
haven't.
like a culture thing.
Yeah, I don't really eat too much high meat anymore. I used to eat like that jar. Sometimes I would eat that for dinner. Like I would just eat a whole jar of high meat for dinner. Um, but I stopped eating so much high meat. I just stopped having a taste for it. So I just made that because I got a deal on some liver at the butcher, and I figured I might as well make some and eat a little bit.
Kind of like
Um,
for fun.
you just for health. I don't know about for fun, but just for health. I kind of feel like might I might benefit from it. I haven't had it
Mm,
in a while, so
I see.
yeah.
How often would you say you eat that now?
Last time I ate high meat was last July, so it
Last
was
July. What the
yeah,
hell? That's a long time ago.
yeah. Like I said, I don't really have a taste for it, and airing it out is kind of cumbersome. Having to do it every 4 days or once a week, So I'm like I said, I'm just kind of lazy about it.
But you just
I've
showed
been
a jar, right?
Yeah, I
So
haven't aired
uh
that out yet. I shouldn't say I haven't aired it out yet. I aired it out a week ago when I aired out. I've been airing out this conference meat because I have to do that for the conference in
okay.
July. So I've been doing that, and I've been, the new jar I've been bringing out when I do that as well. But I could be airing it out more honestly.
So the last time you ate high meat was last year, but recently you have always been trying to like open the jar.
Yep.
Oh, doesn't that
Mostly.
feel doesn't that feel annoying having to do that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, yeah, it is annoying. That's why I don't. That's why I don't make a lot anymore. So,
Oh,
yeah,
what if you don't open the jar? What will happen?
it doesn't age. It doesn't ferment.
Oh,
It like
okay.
stays. It like reaches a point, and then you need
Just
to add
stays
more
there.
air. Yeah, pretty much.
Whew, interesting. So it's not going to become bad, so to speak.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Uh, okay. That's. Mm. Oh, so you were saying that you should try to open the jar more often so that it progresses more.
Yeah, so the bacteria break it down. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if you don't open the jar, it's not really a big deal. It's just that it's not going to progress.
Right.
Oh, okay. That's funny. That's pretty cool, honestly. Have you tried raw insects before?
Um. Well, I was eating those crabs, and the
Nice.
oyster, maybe that qualifies.
I would say
Um,
so.
one time I ate a worm, a long time ago. I ate a
Where
worm.
did you get that?
It was from the ground. It tasted like dirt. It wasn't very good. I, yeah, I'm not really into eating bugs though. Um, I wouldn't do that. I'll stick to eggs and meat.
Is it because you think it's not delicious, or it's like
Well,
the
I
way you
think
would?
bugs are gross,
Hmm.
and I don't think they would be too delicious. So I'm going to say no to bugs.
Okay. And you mentioned that you ate a worm before. Um, you were in America,
Yep. Yeah,
and
this was like
you
when I was a kid. Yeah, it was just for
uh,
fun.
when you were a kid.
Yeah.
What the hell? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's probably before you went on this diet.
Yeah, way before. Yeah. I was like 12, 13.
Okay. Yeah. So like I post about me eating raw food on social media, and people like to tell me to eat raw snails. And the pe- I think the reason is because there have been stories of people becoming paralyzed or something, become very dumb after they ate a raw snail. Yeah. What would you think about that? Have you heard of this story
Never
before?
heard of it. Never heard
Oh,
of that. But I
okay.
think that's kind of weird. I don't know. I probably wouldn't eat snails anyway.
Hmm. But like, if like um let's see, like if you had to eat a snail, what what do you think will happen?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anybody who's eaten a snail before.
Hmm. Okay. But like if you try to think about it.
I don't know. I probably just wouldn't eat it. I'd probably use the snail to catch a fish or something.
Okay. Yeah. My idea is that I think nothing will happen. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know. Insects can be poisonous, so I don't know. Different kinds of
Oh,
snails, maybe. Who knows?
you're right. But the concern is the poison, it's not the parasites bacteria,
Right. Yeah.
in your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Because like people like to say that, oh, they have a lot of parasites. Like snails have a lot of parasites.
Yeah.
So you will get sick or something.
Yeah. The parasites in a snail. I mean, they work to live in a snail. They don't necessarily will live in a human body.
Okay, okay. So you think it's true that snails have a lot of parasites, but it doesn't mean when you eat a snail, bad things will happen.
Oh, I don't know if snails have parasites. I don't know anything about snails.
Okay, cool.
I'm just saying maybe. I don't know.
Have you drank blood before?
Yeah.
You mentioned you processed some animals before,
Yep.
so maybe you drank the blood from the animal.
Yeah. I've had it with and without milk, and I definitely don't like drinking blood on its own. It's hard on my stomach. At the conference, we will slaughter a lamb, and I drain the blood into a gallon of milk, basically half gallon of milk, and we just pass it around and drink from the blood and the milk.
Ooh. Did you say this conference has been happening for a few years now already?
This will be the second year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So looking forward to it.
How many do you think will show up?
Well, we had 35 last year, and that was on 6 week notice. Tickets, hopefully by the time this airs, are already on sale. They were supposed to be released this week, but we had a bit of a delay, um, unfortunately. So hopefully within the next week here, next few days, they go on sale. So that's 3 months notice. So we could have upwards of 70 people. We're shooting for like 70 to 100, hopefully.
Hmm. Do you think it's easy to monetize with this kind of event?
Um, maybe. I think there's a lot of people who are interested in raw meat and the primal diet, and people who are maybe interested in it. And this is a good place to meet people who've been on, eating this way for over 20 years. Um, so, meeting them, it was really interesting to see. I met the guy Phoenix, and he's not very tall, but he's a big guy. He's like really muscular, and he's really strong. And I think that's a testament to the raw meat. And he's 60.
Oh,
We were moving out coolers. We had giant coolers filled with raw milk and stuff and ice, and some guys, they weren't able to pick up the cooler to help move it. But Phoenix comes over and he picks up the one side just with one arm, like it's nothing. And I have to use both my arms to pick up the other side. But he's a 60-year-old man lifting, a cooler that has, I don't know how many gallons of raw milk in it and ice with just one hand and walking out the door like it's nothing. And I'm having to use all my strength, two arms. Now I'm a young guy.
hmm.
So, and two other guys, they couldn't even pick it up. So, yeah, I think meeting people like that who've been eating this way for a long time, it's a testament to like it's worth it, and you know, take care of your health. And there's classes and information and meeting people who also eat this way, which can be helpful for people who feel maybe socially awkward about eating this way. It's also in a very beautiful part of the country. It's called God's Thumbprint in Burke's Garden. So it's basically a mountaintop collapsed, and so there's a there's like a valley. It's a valley, and it's surrounded by hills and mountains in the Appalachia region, and it's just farms in there, and it's very mineral rich soil, and
Hmm.
very very clean, very good animals and good produce and good good dairy and meat. So it's awesome.
So, you are one of the organizers, right?
Yeah.
And how many organizers are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, like 5, 6
Oh,
ish.
okay,
Some people are more involved than others, but I'd say there's like 6 people who do this.
Hmm. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Let's see. Uh, do you have people around you, like in your real life, that eats a similar diet?
Um, no, no.
Hmm.
I have
Okay.
acquaintances and people I know who eat some raw meats, but they're not on the diet like I am.
Mhm. What do you usually do, mm, like on a daily basis? Like, what do you spend most of your time on?
Working mostly. I do property
Yes.
management. Um, I'll start working at the farmers market here in the summer, and I'm also a fisherman. So between those 3 things,
Mm,
I'm pretty
okay.
busy. And in my free time, I ride my bike. I like to read. I like to read manga. And now I'm reading Hunter x Hunter. Um, and sourcing food, writing articles, and organizing the conference. Just being outside. I like going to the conservatory, um, and yeah, watch anime in the evening to decompress. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty, low key, pretty chill. So I used to work out and train a lot, and when the pandemic happened, everything kind of shut down, and I kept up with my stretching and everything and riding my bike. But then I realized I like taking that time to heal because I wasn't competing. So I used to be like very, very active, and I still, as a result of my diet, I still have a lot of my strength. Even though I've gained 40 pounds, I can still do handstand push-ups and pull-ups and a lot of push-ups and jumping squats. So again, testament to eating right, eating raw meat. It helps build a strong body. Um,
Mm.
so yeah. It's-
Um, Is it hard or like I mean like do you usually come across girls in your daily life?
Yeah, I'd say so. When I go out, sure.
Hmm. Do you think your diet makes it harder for you to date or things like that?
No, not necessarily. Some girls are interested in it.
Hmm.
Um, you know, um, yeah, I mean, it's, women, they might be intrigued by it. Some are sure, certainly are disgusted, but whatever. I don't eat this way for other people's validation. I eat this way for, myself and my health. So,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, but do you want to get a girlfriend in the future,
um, maybe I don't really know about
or just
like
like let things naturally happen?
I don't
How
really know
about?
like about a girlfriend. I mean, I'm kind of old, so I'm kind of more at like that wife point, like maybe getting married, but I like doing my own thing. I don't really like having to compromise and like include somebody else in my plans and things. So, that's probably a little difficult because all relationships are a compromise. So, I mean, you meet the right person, but I'm not really exposed to where I would um, get to know a woman in that capacity to, date or marry her. When you ask if I see girls out, sure, when I'm out and about, oh yeah, hi, how are you, or whatever. But I'm not like in a social club or anything where I'm seeing like the same people, and that's really how like relationships will start. Like I've certainly, gone up to girls and chatted them up and got their numbers, but the conversion rate for that is very low, to like actually getting a date and like knowing somebody that way. So it's better to, or more effective rather, to have a circle of people and then like develop a rapport with someone
Mm-hmm.
before you go out for coffee or whatever. So
Mm. Okay. Did you have a girlfriend like after you went raw diet at any point?
um yeah, I mean, maybe I wouldn't call her like a girlfriend. I mean, we weren't romantically involved, but I was seeing this person, sure.
Hmm. Okay. And what did she think about your diet or something like that?
She I don't know, she thought it was interesting. It didn't seem to disgust her. She called it my meat shield. She would talk about my meat shield, because this was during the pandemic and everything. So I was like, I'm not, worried about this stuff. And she's like, oh, because of your meat shield. And I was like, yeah, I guess.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Okay. Let's see. Well, it's about to end. Sorry for taking your so much of your time. But
that's okay, man.
you said you are going to watch some fights later, so you're not going to sleep.
Well, no, they're probably over by now.
Oh, okay. I see. I see.
So I'll probably watch them tomorrow.
Okay. Cool. Um, what are some things that, uh, yeah, when it comes to the medical industry, what are some things that people generally think are pretty normal that you think are pretty bad?
Well, you know, antibiotics, injections, the antiseptics they use, a lot of high radiation equipment, the fluorescent lights in hospitals, the LED lighting, um, the pharmaceuticals. Basically, the pharmaceutical industries write the medical training manuals. So, I mean, that's not good. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like I said, I just try to stay away from doctors and stuff. So it's yeah, I will say I went to a doctor in Taiwan. It was the language school's doctor. It was his guy, and he was really cool. And I was starting to get eczema breakouts because of the humidity, which is why I think eczema is like kind of a fungus because it was very humid, and we had to wear pants as teachers, and I was getting the rashes of eczema behind my knees where it was very. So I got a doctor's note to wear shorts. Um, but he had this homemade cream, this homemade salve, and I don't know what was in it, but I'm pretty sure it was like all natural, like custom made. But I would put it on my eczema, and it would like it was like the best thing I ever used for eczema. Um, so yeah, I had a good experience in Taiwan with that doctor. It's probably like my favorite doctor of all time.
Okay. Mhm. What are some things you think will make the world a better place?
Hmm. Boy, that's tough. I think if um, people were more self-reliant in a sense, because so much stems from that, so much um injustice or uh, just screwed up stuff and dysfunction comes as a result of people being dependent on other people or the system. It I don't want to say enslaves, but it ties people to a way of living. For instance, like if you are going to work to trade all your time for money to live somewhere and eat, versus if you could invest your time in creating, you know, goods or services to sustain yourself above and beyond selling that. Like if you have land and you can make your own food and you can build your own shelter and you get your own water, like that goes a long way in, it's like, okay, so how much do I need to work and for what and why? Obviously, that's not like most people's situation, but even still, if more people were producing their um, their own food and they had surpluses, they would be able to like help other people out, and there would be more of a incentive to shop and spend locally. To my point earlier about how I vote with my dollar, like I don't give money to corporations. Like I don't buy new clothes unless I absolutely have to. I go to thrift stores. I go to a local butcher. I go to a dairy farmer, and I go to a local fish market. I'm not going to a supermarket. I'm not buying new clothes at a retail store. I'm not really buying that much stuff from Amazon. I'll spend like maybe $100 a year on Amazon stuff if I need to. I'm not really going to Walmart. I'm not, you know, sure I pay utilities and I pay taxes, whatever, but um, people in their reckless spending just gives corporations ammunition to give lobbyists and politicians to write laws to make your life worse and to make their businesses better, because all these regulations really end up cutting off people and their ability to compete with businesses and corporations. So it's like a downward spiral. It's not good. So if more people could make their own things and make their own culture, especially and own entertainment, which is kind of happening with social media and TikTok and YouTube and Twitch and things. Um, like old media is dying. So I think if more people can just create and build things for themselves in their communities, it would be a lot better for the world. And that all stems from self reliance in a way.
Mm. I kind of get what you're saying, like trying to live the life you want, I guess,
Um, yeah, in a way.
by
Not so
yourself.
much. Not so much. Not so much. live your life by yourself, but being responsible for yourself.
Mm,
Yeah.
I see. I see. Okay. Are you working on that now?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I spend my money locally
Yeah, I
and
mean,
local
like,
businesses.
do you try to raise your own animals or like try to have your own food supply?
No, not at this point.
Mm. But you try to support this trend, I guess.
Yeah, I just support people who do that, and
Hmm.
I I lead by example. Like I do that. I show people that's possible, and like if someone asks how do I do that, I would tell them some ways to do that so they could do it too. Um, Admittedly, I don't know. Part of me does want to have. I don't want to. I don't want to manage a farm. I'd rather own a farm and have somebody else work it. Um, but part of me wants to travel again, and I'm coming up to a point in my life where I'll either have a place I'll stay, or I will go and out into the world again and try to find a nice remote job and just travel for a year or two and just see what happens.
Hmm. Okay. Are you happy now? You can say like why or why not.
I'd say I'm content. I don't really know to get existential about happiness. When man pursues something for a goal, a purpose, they are often not happy. Happy is what is perceived at the end point, where if I have this or I do this, then I will reach my goal and then I will be happy. But usually, once you achieve something, it is sort of an empty feeling because what you've been striving for is now gone. So now you have to think about, well, what is it next that I'm going to do? So I don't really know. Happiness is maybe not the right word. Maybe being content is, because if you're striving for something, suffering is really just the epitome of human existence, the suffering and enduring, uh, for something, for some purpose. And once you do that, well, then it's like, well, geez, what do I do now? Um, are you happy that you completed your goal? Maybe you look back on the times and the struggles, and that's maybe when you're happy. Maybe happy is something that's reflexive um, when you complete something. So I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm unhappy or depressed. I'm okay. I'm content.
Okay. What are your goals right now?
Well, short term, do the conference, pull that off. Um, I'm doing a cybersecurity boot camp, and I want to get comp TIA certified. Those are probably my short term goals. Long term, my big goal is I would like to live between, like, somewhere in America, Italy, Japan. I'd like to have properties on in multiple countries.
Let's see. What's your thought on people who seem to be pretty healthy, but they live a pretty not optimal lifestyle?
I think there's more that goes into health than what someone would call an optimal lifestyle. What they eat or what they consume. I work with a fellow. He's in his 60s. He's he's an older man. He's very skinny. He smokes. He doesn't drink anymore, but he's he's very strong for his age, and he does a lot of work. And he drinks like Sunny D and eats pretzels and drinks Mountain Dew and eats fast food and processed foods all day, eventually that stuff catches up with you. But he doesn't have, he doesn't wear a mask when he cuts drywall, and he's is crazy. Um, but he's like not. He doesn't look unhealthy. He's got a little bit of a cough, but he, yeah. So, like I said, getting sun, I think, is really important. Um, what you eat catches up with you, but it may not be so immediate, when you're doing that. Um, heck, what's his name? John Daly. Have you ever heard of him? He's a golfer. All he drinks is like Diet Coke, and he smokes cigarettes, and he's just like, you look at this person, you're like, yeah, that is not a healthy person. But he's like, he's a golfer, and he's trucking, and he's doing his thing. So, or like someone like Keith Richards or Ozzy Osbourne, like just people who have just put their bodies through hell and they're still kicking. So I think having a purpose is also important. Like a lot of people who retire and they're old and then they die because like they don't have that purpose. I think having a purpose is probably one of the like key pillars of health. So yeah.
Hmm. So like purpose, sunlight, diet can all play a role. Anything else?
Um no.
Hmm. Okay. Cool. Cool. Uh, where can people find you?
So I'm on YouTube, Eat Raw Meat Primal Diet Advice. That's a channel that is strictly about primal diet advice from a primal diet perspective. Um, I'm also on primaldietcoaching.com. I'm a contributor there, and I'm an admin, organizer, primaldiet.net. I'm also on TikTok at Eat Raw Meat, but I don't really post anymore. Instagram, Twitter, just I'm out there. I've got a link tree if you want to follow me, you know, whatever.
Hmm. Okay. Do you have any final words to whoever that's listening, or might maybe like a advice for the world?
Um, Gosh, not really. No, just
Hmm.
thanks for listening. I guess I hope you got something out of it.
Hmm. Okay. So, Irami, that's what I want to cover for today. So, thank you once again for taking the time to do this with me. Yeah. Let's say
Awesome.
goodbye to the listener. Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.